All right. Good evening, folks. Welcome back to another episode of The Real Fisherman.
What's
What's up?
up?
What's up,
Yeah.
Pete? What's up, Wes?
What's going
Just
on?
another day in paradise.
You been fishing, Wes?
No,
Fisherman.
I went to just got back actually about an hour and a half ago. I'm sorry, from Florida.
So you went down there to Florida to help Shane Howington get moved out, didn't you?
I did well, not pretty much. Yeah, we pretty much we moved a lot of stuff out too. We
So what's
raised
going on? You got a hurricane coming down there? Is
hurricane,
Howington's
I tell you.
Howington's in Yankeetown, Florida, right? So is that in its path?
He's just he's about 20 miles south of Cedar Key, and right now the eye is supposed to be hitting Cedar Key, and he's actually on what they call the trash side. I call it the shit side of the storm, which is the right quadrant. And I know Peter told me, Peter might want to touch on this. He told me, I talked to Pete while I was going down there. And Pete said he flew over the storm, and he said he believed it was probably going to be a lot worse than what they were saying. And now,
what's the name of this hurricane?
When I think about what he said, I noticed that it all of a sudden it went from a category 1 to a category 2. Then yesterday they said a category 3, and then last night they were saying a category 3, maybe a category 4. I believe they already knew this before, but like Pete said, they just don't want to hop up and say, hey, we got a category 4 storm hurricane coming. And then you got 10,000 people trying to evacuate at one time and clogging every cluster and everything up. But So what did you say about that, Pete? Touch on that. How you said you flew over the storm?
Yeah, and to clarify, I did not.
Before you get started, Pete, what's the name of this storm?
Idalia.
Yes.
Idalia. Okay. Continue.
Like that. Yeah, but to clarify, I did not fly over it. I kind of skirted to the east of it. Kind of see the buildup. Of the storm and everything. And usually, one of the first signs of a powerful storm is the outer bands. That get intense, and the clouds. To get technical, the cumulonimbus clouds, they grow tall. Okay, and any typical storm, when it touches, let's say 35,000 feet, is considered a decent storm. Anything over 40,000 feet is a pretty severe storm. But when a storm touches 50,000 feet, that's eye-opening. All right. And these cloud tops were touching over 48, and again, we're guessing from a distance. If I'm cruising out 38,000 feet and them dang clouds are way above me, them things are 48,000 feet. Any storm that touches that altitude, that's a significant storm, or is trying to be pretty significant. So
I've never thought about that.
With that said, yes, that's going to be, I think it's going to explode to something pretty significant in the coming, we got a day to look at it. But, I told Wes that in the years past, man, it's like the media does not really want to admit that's going to be a strong storm right off the bat to have 100,000 folks evacuate at one time. But it seems like they, kind of a common theme is a day prior, they say, oh, all right, it's going to be category 4. Get the fuck out of there.
Wow. So you can see the hurricane here. Is Yankeetown, is that south of Tampa? Or is that above Tampa?
No, it's probably 90 miles. Is that right, Pete? About 90 miles. Cedar Key, it's right. It's about 40 miles. No, I'm sorry. It's about 25 miles north of Cedar Key. So that would make it what, Pete? About less than an hour from Tampa?
Almost a little more, give or take, because it kind of hooks around, So I'd say a little more than that. It's really tough to say. That's so if you see the panhandle kind of bowing around, I want to say it's about dead center of that the oval there.
Okay. So yeah, I see Cedar Key there. Yeah, it's right there in the center of that bowl.
Well, I'll tell you, they're calling right now. They're calling, and there again, I don't know if they, well, we all know everybody exaggerates a lot, especially with weather. I think I think they get more views a lot of times the more they talk stuff up. But they're saying now that they could get up to a 15-foot storm surge around Yankeetown. If that's true, if they get a 15-foot storm surge in there around Shane's house, his house will be completely underwater at this point. Mm-hmm. He said 7 or 8. He might have he'd get a little bit of water in the house, but that a 12, 15-foot storm surge. And then, the whole back of Shane's house, I don't know if you remember looking at the video, Junior, or Pete, if y'all seen it, it's sliding glass. It's sliding glass doors all the way on the back of the house, ones that we taped up, put the plastic on, but that is not going to withstand a whole lot of pressure.
I watched some of that video, but I didn't realize that was Shane's house. I didn't know you were down there.
Yeah. So this storm, and for that area, even especially Tallahassee, I was watching the Weather Channel earlier. This is historic. It's been, I think, since the early 80s since Yankeetown seen anything like this. And I don't think it's been, what they say, Pete, over 80 years, 90 years since Tallahassee's seen a storm with over 100-mile-an-hour winds.
Yeah, stuff like that. Yep.
Yeah. So it's going to be catastrophic for that area. So.
Yeah. So I got to ask, so you were down there with Shane. I can't imagine owning property, expecting a storm to come through there that might absolutely level, the place. I know it's the back of his mind, but like, what can you tell? Like, how's he reacting? Like, is he extremely nervous the whole entire time you're down there?
Well, you could tell he had a lot on his mind.
Yeah.
But,
he's jittery and everything.
Well, his thing was, you can, for what he gave for the house, he said, Wes, I got a good deal on the house. He said, of course, I don't want to have to rebuild a house or put another house there. But he said, if I lost the house, it wouldn't be as big a catastrophic loss as it would for a lot of other people because he got a good deal on the house. But, that's a very nice house. It's brick. But, if that whole house goes underwater, the damage that it would do, I don't know. It's got everything in its brick frame. It's got a brick floor. And he does have a shingled roof. There again, nobody down there's got flood insurance. And from my understanding, most of your coastal cities in the United States now, if you're not grandfathered in under some kind of flood insurance policy, especially on the East Coast, nobody writes flood insurance no more. That's just what I've heard. I don't know how true that is. Is that true?
So I'm telling you what I do know. Again, I'm not an insurance adjuster. I don't have a lot of experience in it, but I do know, like, nowadays, they won't insure you a house like within X distance of the water unless it is like, I'm throwing a number out, 6 feet on stilts above water or some shit like that. So
yeah, gotta be on stilts.
It's got to be on stilts. I know the older houses, they didn't do that, and nowadays they don't insure it, or you pay a high premium for it. But and nowadays, insurance companies won't even cover you unless your house is on stilts within, I'd say 6 feet above sea level or 8 feet, whatever the number is. But yeah, it's a new thing now.
Yeah, Scott Perry, we went out and we had some 3.5s stacked up 3.5s, and I thought we were going to die. I couldn't imagine. Could you imagine going into a hurricane, what the wave heights would be, like the distance between the crest?
JR, last night at 11:30, I'm looking at the Weather Channel. They had some waves out there that was 22 foot high.
22 foot. Wow.
Wes.
Yeah.
Wasn't red snapper season like being in a hurricane?
Oh, dude, that first day I couldn't even get out, and the second day was brutal too. Well, you went out.
Yeah, that was bad.
Well, JR, like down there where my husband-in-law lives. The side of the street that they're on there in Surfside, they can't get a flood policy, but right across the street, all their neighbors from that street that runs down right there, anything east of them, they can get flood insurance. That's where the line, it's got to stop somewhere. And Wade just said, unfortunately, the fucking line stops right here at my house.
I wonder how that's going to affect fishing. Like, you get these hurricanes that come through. It seems like they always affect fishing that year. And you have the Labrador current, on up there north of Hatteras. You got the Gulf Stream that's flowing north, hitting that Labrador current up there, which pushes it offshore. How is it going to affect that Labrador current and the Gulf Stream current and the amount of blue water that comes inshore, the amount of blue water that goes not only north but gets pushed out east and west and south? And like, does it hurt fishing? Does it help fishing, or could it do either one?
So what I do know, and I got a lot of friends that, charter fish. I got friends that do spear fish and scuba dive and everything. And one common thing I hear after a major storm is the fishing sucks for a little bit. And a scuba diver once told me, something that I'll hold true to this date forward. And they say, you don't understand what happens every time a big wave rolls by. And I'm like, what happens? And, he described to me as, the upwelling. So you get a 20-foot wave that comes by. Okay.
Mhm.
And so what you see on top of the water is a big wave, but what you don't see below is the current that goes all the way to the bottom and rolls all that sediment all the way through. So if you get a storm that goes up the coast, you get those large waves that come inshore and it stirs the bottom up significantly and it dirties up the water.
Is that really going to affect anything other
It
than
does,
say
yeah,
a live
because
bottom?
it does. It affects everything. And I've been out there after a storm and I have not caught piss for bottom fish at all.
Near
So
shore, inshore, offshore, or all
everything,
three?
offshore,
Everything.
near shore, you name it, everything.
Which means that what's the hurricane that's out there now? Franklin?
Idalia.
No, the big one, the
oh,
one
the
that's
big
going
one.
off.
Yeah,
That's probably going to mess with my bottom fishing spots.
correct.
They
Yes,
are. I can
correct.
imagine.
Now those, the further offshore you go, those bottom fishing spots clear up a lot quicker. So
Yeah,
it
it's
might be
amazing
messy
how a
for-
hurricane can affect water or the bottom that is 200 plus feet deep. Does it affect those deep water live bottoms
Absolutely.
a lot?
Absolutely, yeah, it sure does. But the deeper you go, the faster the water clears up. So let's say it rolls through and the water's messy, but give it 2 or 3 days, it will improve. Versus near shore, let's say in 50 foot of water, like 10 miles of beach, it may take a week or maybe a week and a half for it to get better.
Okay, so it does recover pretty quickly.
Yes.
So, Pete, let me ask you a question. I've never asked this before. We're kind of off the subject of weather, but we get off the subject every week. So, okay, you got a live bottom. What creates a live bottom? What makes that live bottom in that particular area? What starts it and what maintains it? Why does it stay there? Like, say, for instance, where I've been fishing, I've got about 5 or 6 spots up there that I know is a live bottom. If this storm messes it up, okay, I'm gonna have to go find some different fishing if it messes, which I'm sure that other hurricane may mess it up. I don't know. Just supposing it does. What starts a live bottom? I mean, would a live bottom ever come back to that area, or what made that a live bottom?
That area will be always live no matter what. And to answer Dieter's question here real quick, I think everyone's drunk, right? All of us except for Wes, of course, right? But yeah, no. So live bottom, it's a combination of everything: coral heads, ledges, whatever. But one thing that distinguishes live bottom overall is growth, I guess, on the bottom. And give you a perfect example. My most recent trip, God, it feels like a month ago now. When I went offshore, we drifted an area, and every time I would bring up my my rig, I would have grass and moss and whatever else on the weight. So anytime you got growth on the bottom, that's considered a live bottom, whether it's algae or whatever else.
JR brought up some grass a couple of times on our last trip where we was getting a grouper.
That was
that is live
sargassum. No, that was you're talking about that other type of grass.
On the bottom fishing.
So like if you bring up grass like on your sinker, that is live bottom. That's probably a pretty good area.
And I've actually brought up sponge before. Stuff get on your hook that looks like a sponge.
Yeah. Sponge. Anytime you catch sponge, you're in a good area.
I think that live bottoms probably started millions of years ago when maybe the ocean didn't take up as much land. I think a lot of that was like out of the water, wasn't it? Like millions of years ago.
I think so. Yeah.
That's probably where the all of the structure out there kind of started, and that's probably got a lot to do with why it's a live bottom now. It's because of what was going on there when there was no ocean there.
Yeah.
Hey, Scott Perry, just so you'll know, JR called me tonight and said, if you can't get on the show with us, don't comment because we're going to ignore you.
Yeah. Scott, hop on, man. We need entertainment.
He's scared.
Or even Dieter. Come on here. Come on, Dieter.
So how do you tell the Gulf Stream? How do you tell that you're even in the Gulf Stream when you're on your way out there and in the summertime there aren't any temp breaks because, the Gulf Stream will stay around 78 all year or get up into the 80s, in the peak of summer, mid 80s or whatever.
Purple water.
When the rest of the water is the same temperature because it's August 23rd, how do you differentiate the blue water?
It's really tough to tell, man. I guess it comes down to current. Gulf Stream is not in the same area day to day. You can expect to go offshore, 200 foot of water, 300, 400 foot, whatever. And and you have current out there a lot of times. So anytime you got current, I guess you are technically in the Gulf Stream, but a lot of times that stream will break off and come near shore. And so, I mean, it fluctuates day to day.
Yeah, and there'll be some eddies out there sometimes. Sometimes you can actually be out there and be in the Gulf Stream water, and there not be a whole lot of current because of an eddy that's formed.
Yep. In the summertime, it's very hard to tell. I mean, the water temperature is pretty steady across the board from near shore all the way out there to.
And it's hard to tell there's current when it all looks the same as far as you can see. I'll tell you how you can tell, though, is to use spot lock and crawl down the swim ladder and get in the water and hold on to the swim ladder, and you can hear and see the water eddying around you because of all the current. A lot of people don't realize how much current's out there. There is more current in the Gulf Stream than all the rivers in the world combined.
You're right.
It is.
People just
crazy.
don't understand. Like, you know, a lot of folks want to talk shit about, oh, this Gulf Stream, whatever. It's not worth going out there. But man, you go out there, it's a damn magical thing. You know, you get
It really is.
water. You know, you don't get into the real clear water until it turns purple, which, you know, those days are few and far between. But I mean, that is true Gulf Stream water when you get that purplish, deep, real turquoise blue water.
Yep, the purple water.
Hey, Pete, if y'all look right here, this is a picture of a live bottom. But I want you to look, take Scott's comment down right quick, JR, so I can show this so you can see it.
Yes.
Wait till it focuses.
Yeah.
Look at that water temperature.
88.45. Wow.
That's a half a degree of being 89 degrees.
No, that was in the peak of the day too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think the true temp would have been first thing in the morning, which would have been more like 84 probably. What is that, Pete?
That is all sorts of stuff there, whether it's growth, fish, combination of everything.
Mm-hmm. We should have looked at that on the 3D scan.
It's actually fish. Let's see if I can get my finger. That's the fish right in there.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And that's a big rock. We were trying to drop on both sides of that rock. That's what we kept getting hung on.
Wow. It being that deep and it being that with that return, I wonder how big that rock actually is. Like, I wonder how long and how wide it is.
Yes,
I got a measuring thing, Pete, like Lawrence does. I don't never do it, but you can touch like on your depth finder. I don't know if y'all can see this again. On your depth finder, touch one point, and then touch the other point and hit measure, and it'll tell you how long that is.
That is awesome. Gotcha. Yeah, I would like to know.
Yeah, anytime you find that offshore, man, that's, you know, guaranteed you must fish it for sure.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you what's best though. If you go out there in the middle of nowhere, you got flat bottom and you got a small little area like that, about the size of a car, a truck, whatever, that's guaranteed grouper.
I put Scott's.
We caught some grouper on it.
Scott shot me a bird and told me fuck you, so put his comment back up so he don't get butthurt. There you go. We good now, Scott?
Scott needs to come on here.
When's the early spring wahoo going to show up?
If he was drunk, he'd get on here with y'all.
The wahoo bite is on right now.
I'm talking about the big ones. When are they going to be in?
The big ones normally roll in about. I don't get excited about wahoo fishing until about, I'm going to say, early mid-November.
Where's the wahoo bite hot at? We had one wahoo on the first 5 minutes into the troll, lost it at the boat, and that's all. We only trolled for about an hour and a half, so we didn't really.
It's getting really good now, but I feel like the wahoo bite gets good up north, and then eventually comes down south towards your neck of the woods there. Now, again, the storm right here is going to mess things up, I'm sure, but once things improve, I think we'll get pretty good pretty quick.
Now, when is me, you, and Perry supposed to do this kingfish thing?
I will let you know, man, as soon as, you know, the bite's hot. I'm not going to call you down there just because, you know, once that bite's on fire, I'm going to say, Wes, 2 days, get your ass down here, get a couple guys, let's do this. You know, so I would say probably expect early mid-October.
Make Scott make a video. Don't let Scott fool you. Scott is fully capable of making a video just as good as my videos.
I thought you was going, Junior.
He just don't want to do it. Well, you just mentioned you and Scott, and you didn't say nothing about JR.
You already said you was going last week. I thought you was already in on it.
He's
You
gonna
know,
say
need a
Wes
video,
called
man.
Peter.
All right, I'm gonna throw some dates at you guys just so you can kind of sort of plan in advance. I already got my entire October schedule. I got my vacation granted, all that shit. So
Can y'all see the comments from YouTube, or is that just me?
I'm not on YouTube. I can see them on my page. No, I
That's
can see
the
them on your page.
yeah. Can you? Oh, you can. Okay.
Monday, October 9th, 10th, and possibly 11th is a possibility. And then October 24th through the 27th.
All right. Well, I'm pretty much open unless something major happens. If I got a job coming up, I'll put it off or sub it out. So I'm usually pretty good with my schedule.
Yeah.
Hey, boy.
I did notice when we were out there, Wes. I did notice some water clarity changes,
It seemed
that
like it was clearer to me.
yeah. Well, I think that the actual bottom fishing spot we went may have been clearer than where we were trolling.
Yeah, it just that water was almost so clear you couldn't. It just looked like it looked
Have
like
you?
it looked like
Go
you
ahead.
just had a blue background, but you wasn't even underwater.
Except in summertime, when any other time when there actually are temperature breaks out there. Have you guys ever thought about, like in the summertime when you can't really go by temperature breaks? Have y'all ever thought about fishing water clarity breaks?
Yeah. It depends
Well, I
on
would
fish.
say out there in the summer, this is just an opinion. The dirtier or the dense, the less clear the water, the hotter it's going to be. The clearer the water, the less hotter it's going to be. Just like in the winter when we're striper fishing, we kind of like to fish a colored water or dingy water because it's going to get hotter quicker.
Yes.
So I'd say that the dirtier the water, which I ain't found no dirty water out there where we're fishing, but any water that's not as clear or this less clear would probably be a little bit more warmer. So the clearer the water,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I'm saying?
The less nutrient rich. Remember,
Yeah.
we had this debate.
Yeah, and have all them organisms and orgasms and shit going in.
Microorganisms.
Yeah,
Yeah.
nutrients.
Microorganisms.
I want to tell y'all something a little different here. As far as a kingfishing perspective, I'd say early season. When I say mid-September, late September, after a lot of heavy rain, we get a push of river water that goes out in the ocean. Okay, and you can tell river water because it's almost. And JR, you fish Southport, so you understand what iced tea color water is, right?
Oh God, yes.
We call it Bojangles iced tea water.
I don't like it. Do you like that? Do you like fishing in that color water?
So
like inshore?
I don't. But what I'm getting to is a lot of times what happens is you get that river water push out and it creates a very hard break. Okay. You'll get a break of river water and ocean water.
Now, what's the difference in that and a tide line?
That is a tide line. That is it.
Okay. Yep.
Yes. And so in the king fishing perspective, you want to troll that tide line because what happens is a big king, and I've heard this from multiple folks, and I agree to it 100%. A big king, they love a little bit of fresh water. They absolutely do. And so you troll that tide line, and a lot of times them fish will sit right along that tide line to ambush bait. The river water, even though it looks like, iced tea color, it actually has salinity in it. And the water temperature is a lot cooler as well compared to ocean water. So a lot of times those fish will travel along that tide line, we'll call it. Yeah. And it is a very good place to fish late. I'd say, again, September, mid-September, late September, early October, guaranteed big fish.
I bet it could be very rough right there. Because I know when Wes and I and Lacey and Alan were going out Saturday, once we got out there and we had an incoming tide, so the tide was coming at us. Then we had a southwest wind.
Yeah.
So we had wind meeting tide, and it was just it was every bit of stacked up fours.
Oh, yeah.
It was rough, man. We were hull slapping, hull cracking, going like what, Wes, 15 miles an hour, 17 miles an hour.
I think 17. It was as fast as we could go there for a while.
We were going 17, and we was hull cracking pretty hard. My back is kind of thrown out from that. Seriously. And so, you know, once the tide, we got on into the tide, and we kind of got out into a little deeper water, it laid down. And it eventually got pretty flat, didn't it, Wes?
Yeah, it got flat as hell. And then once we got out there, the longer we fished, the flatter it got. And at the end of the day, coming back in, I run at 40, 41 miles an hour, just wide open. And we had and it's kind of weird the way the ocean was doing. It almost looked crazy. If you looked out, if you look real far, you could see the swells. It didn't they looked so high. They just looked real long. It was almost like you had a swell that might be 3 football fields long. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it just kept going. Yeah.
It just kept going. And I mean, it was really beautiful coming back.
I was like, man, I hope those don't stack up. We're going to be in some trouble if that happens. You know,
that's a fact.
So I made a little, I don't know, it's 2 or 3 minutes long video. It's not finished or anything, but do you want to watch it, Wes? Or?
Yeah, go ahead.
He said, of course he does.
Okay. All right.
Might be the only time I get to see it.
Here it comes. 3.
Hey, Dieter, watch this. This is how you do a video.
Oh, hell.
Let's see.
He said anything you can do, he can do better.
That's right.
That video file.
JR is my man. The Oliver Anthony of brand ambassadors.
Shit, small print. I got to squint to look at it.
The small print on mine too.
Yeah.
All right, Junior, I'm ready.
I had it keyed up. Hang on, I lost it. Let me find it right quick.
I've lost it before too and had to find it. That was back before they had Viagra's.
Get Dieter on here.
Okay, I will.
I would say I could send him an invite, but I can't. I don't have control of the show.
A little sporty right here at the mouth of the jetty. It's a little bit sporty. There's your wahoo, ladies and gentlemen. Wahoo!
Left in the water. Put it in the water. There you go.
Hey, you need a beach butt?
On the left side.
It's all right. We're getting nothing.
That was good.
That's a good fish, bro. Hey,
You'll have that. Somebody help him. He ain't gonna lose it. He's got it.
You don't have to worry about that. It'll do it itself.
you ain't got a wine?
Nah, you ain't got to do it.
Yeah,
Yeah, it'll do it itself. It'll work its way back on there.
that's good.
You only got to do that when it ain't got nothing on it.
Fire up. There you go. That's all right. We'll handle it. Back up. Here you go, Wes. Handle it, Wes. Handle it. Huh? Here. Barracuda. Get him, Lacey. Hooked up on the first drop. Siegler gonna make short work of it. Look at there. Look at that big old black bass. Keeper black bass, baby. Woo!
Pull him over.
All right.
All right, in the fish box we go, baby. Ah, that's awesome, dude. Heck yeah. Ice box, baby.
I want to eat his ass.
That was a scorpion grouper.
Scorpion fish.
Scorpion. I thought it was in the grouper
Oh my
family.
goodness.
Damn, I see what I'm gonna ask for. This is gonna be a Yeah.
You need that song Big Pimp in the background with that right there.
I don't know how to get this off. Let's see. Exit full screen. There we go. Did you see? Hang on, we got Dieter in here. Did you see Alan told Lacey? He's like, "Hey, you don't have to guide the line. When you got a fish on and it's under load, it'll do itself. It'll
I didn't
level
pay
itself."
attention. I wish I'd have heard him say that.
So Lacey piles it up on that one end, and he can't reel anymore, and that's why I grabbed it and it's like, we'll just hand line it. I was like, get here, Wes, let's hand line it.
So it depends on how you hold the rod. I have a lot of guys that will hold the rod like kind of sideways like that.
Yeah.
And the line will kind of gather up right in one little spot. But if you hold it straight, it will kind of naturally lay on the spool as it
I
should.
hold the rod with my 4 fingers,
Uh-huh.
and I let my thumb stay on the line the whole time. So I'm kind of gripping the rod like this, but I'm keeping my thumb. And even when I'm fishing with people that's got level winds now, I still use my thumb. It's just a habit. It's just a habit you get into.
Oh, yeah.
What are you doing, Dieter Milhorn?
What's
What's
up,
up, Peter
Dieter?
Milhorn? Who sent you a friend an invite?
Captain Dieter.
It's uploading the video. Sorry about that. How y'all doing?
Living the
We're
dream.
Y'all are,
man.
y'all
Doing
are
well.
my 4th podcast show of the day.
Oh my goodness, somebody's been
man.
busy.
Today's media day. So yeah, it was-
We got us a
it was like
show
about the-
now. Dieter's here.
Podcast. So Dieter's out there being one heck of a brand ambassador.
I guess so.
That
huh?
is it. That is it, baby.
When am I going to get one of those
Sport
fancy
money.
Dieter Milhorn fishing shirts or sweatshirts or hoodies or whatever?
Yeah,
I'd wear that
something, a
shit.
hat. Give us a
I'd
fucking
wear that
hat.
shit.
Something, Dieter.
In the wintertime on my striper trips, I'd wear the
Text
hell
me.
out of that.
Text me your dress. What size do you wear? Extra small? You wear lady small? What size do you wear?
I wear a size muscular. No, I'm just kidding. Large.
Dieter would just come out with a fishing song that was something like, "If you're 5'3" and you're 300 pounds, taxes ought not
You
pay."
don't pay for fudge rounds.
Let's see.
I got to interrupt here real quick. Daryl, you still on there? Daryl Barney. If you're there, comment. Just so you know, I do have this live scope thing figured out. Hop on my boat one day. I might teach you a thing or two.
Ooh.
Be ready for it.
Hey, Anthony Johnson's been
I-
trying to teach him for a year and a half on how to use it. I don't know how much he
Yeah.
has accomplished since then,
I
but
talked to Daryl. He's like, whenever you get this live scope thing figured out, let me know. I want to jump on your boat. I think I got it figured out. So let's do this. Hop on the boat. It ain't gonna cost you a damn thing. Just bring a 6-pack of beer. We'll have a good time.
Hey, can I come and make a video on how to live scope?
Hell yeah!
I figured
Sure.
I'd throw that in there before Dieter did.
And absolutely sure. Both of you guys. Hell yeah! Y'all have a video competition. How's that?
Hey, I love it. I love it. When we're gonna do that?
Let's do it. And
That'll
I'll
be
even
fun.
go to Lake Norman blind. I won't know anything. Pick a piece of lake and we'll have fun at it.
well, have
Can I-
y'all noticed something, Pete? You've been on here with us now for what? A little over a year or so.
Honestly, I don't know. Let's say a year, maybe. Yes.
And
Not
we've
even
been
a
doing-
year, actually. I want to say less than a year.
And we've been doing this show a little over 2 years now. And out of these 2 years, listen to me close, Dieter. That's what I'm trying to tell you. We've had so many of these fucking trips we were going to do. We were going to do this time. We were going to do this. We're all going to do that. We're going to do a tournament. Hey, we're going to all meet up. And we ain't did shit in 2 years. Have y'all noticed?
It's a lot
that?
easier to talk about something.
Am I the only one?
It is. I'm the world's worst at doing that, though. I have big dreams and then a lot of stuff that wakes me up halfway through them. So yeah.
But I like
Well,
doing stuff. I like planning stuff. If you plan something with me, you can bet your ass this motherfucker is going to show up.
Well, listen, Dieter, if you ever go with us, just know that Peter and I already know this about Wes, but just get ready because Wes is going to lose his shit at least once on the trip.
Hey, I lose my shit more than once too. Yes.
Speaking of losing your shit, this was this came up on 2 of the podcasts I did today. Y'all may have talked about it last week. The captain from 2 Conch Charters.
No, we haven't talked about that yet, but we're going to discuss it.
Now we are, yeah.
Well, now we are. So, what's y'all's take on all that?
Hey, let me go first, and then y'all can have it. I won't say nothing else. Here's the deal,
Right.
and this is just I'm gonna give this is my opinion, and I might be wrong. And now I'm saying if there's 2 sides to this story. You got the captain's side, you got that ignorant motherfucker's side from the UK, and then you've got the truth. But if what the captain is saying is true, he showed restraint in not kicking old boy's ass. Because here's why I'm saying this. If you're told numerous times to stay away from something or don't do something, you're telling a grown-ass man that. And then this grown-ass man turns right around and does something that in day, not just your life, but your kids too, his kids and maybe his, and he didn't, from what my understanding, he didn't slip and fall into the throttle. He made his way back up there where he was told not to, turns around and faces the motor, decides he's going to cross his arms and prop up on the motor, on the throttle, and knocks it in forward. Now, you throw the captain over the transom onto a swim platform after he's told you numerous times to stay out from up there. So that's where I'm at with this. So, yeah, he cussed him out. And there again, and I probably shouldn't say this, but I'm going to say it anyway. I don't give a damn if Jesus Christ and his disciples is standing with you, much less 2 little fucking brats. If you hurt me, and after I've told you not once or twice, but from the captain's standpoint of view several times, stay out of this area, and you do something to hurt me, you're going to get your ass cussed out. And if I've got the least little inkling that I think I might could kick your ass, I'm going to kick your ass. I mean, so one more thing. If you watch this video, right, of the captain raising hell, getting mad, then did you watch the video of the guy that owned 2 Conch Charters where he talked about what happened? Now tell me if I'm missing something here. His theory was that the charter slipped, fell into the throttle. Make this real long story short. He slipped, fell into the throttle. The guy started raising hell, right? Okay. When he slipped and fell into the throttle, okay, what he's saying is, so the captain, while he's on the swim platform, he got the guy that owned 2 Conch said the captain made his way back over the transom, got up to the helm, put the boat back in neutral, right?
I need a beer listening to this. I'll be right back.
Okay, now listen to me close, Dieter. Okay, so you're telling me he went back up there, put the boat in neutral, then he went all the way back, jumped over the transom, got back on the swim platform, and then started cussing and raising hell about the time the guy started the video. That is not happening. I believe that video was edited. He only videoed a certain part of that when that guy was raising hell. And if the captain and if the owner of 2 Conchs would have looked at that video, he'd have seen he put his own foot in his mouth. This is my opinion. Now y'all can have it.
Go ahead, Dieter.
I'm going to give you a totally different. I'm going to give you a totally different take. Maritime law. That's the captain's fault. He should have never left. And listen, I'm going to say what I'm about to say. I know what you're going to say because we've all done it. He left that boat running. And it was out of his control. And we all do that. I do it all the time on my charters, throwing anchors and everything else. But he did. And I think part of it is because he wasn't working a mate on that boat. I think they were fishing for mahi. They had hooked the fish. We're trying to bring it into the boat, blah, blah, blah. And they're too cheap to put a mate on the boat, which should have been doing that while the captain's running the boat. He left the boat running, and ultimately, if it came right down to it, he'd be deemed at fault because it's his vessel and it was running, and he left the helm.
Yeah,
That's terrible, isn't it? I'm critical.
Okay, well, this is my take, and I've written down a couple of notes here since you guys have been talking about it here, and
Mine was quick and concise.
I liked it. That's pretty good. Mine's gonna be a lot longer than that. Just
Well, let me back up one thing, Junior.
Mine's
While I
gonna
go-
be
before I
short.
go to the bathroom.
Okay.
I'm going to interrupt you, Junior. Let's
West
go
part
back to
West
if.
part
Here-
2 before I go.
Okay. But here's the big if. If that man would have done what he was asked to do, none of this shit would have never happened to begin with.
Amen. I think everybody agrees with that. I think the question is how the guy dealt with it.
Not good.
And it reminds me of a guy that acts tough. You guys know the type, the guy that tries to scare you, or like if you're at a bar and some things get out of hand, some guy one of your friends danced with the guy's wife or girlfriend or whatever. You know how he'll buck up and he'll act tough and he'll cuss, and he's trying to intimidate you. You know the type. They probably can't fight. They just do that to try to scare you. Well, that's what it reminds me of. And the way I was raised, my dad was very stoic. He was a lot like Clint Eastwood. He never got emotional. I never once in my entire life saw my dad get emotional, ever. I get my emotionalness from my mother. And I remember as a teenager, rebelling as a teenager, I remember one time I started crying and pitching a fit on my dad. I was probably 14, 15. We were in his pickup truck on our way home from work. I used to labor for him. He was a brick mason. And we got off on 2974 there in Grover. And I just remember crying and like acting like I was going to unlive myself, if that makes any sense. Teenage hormones, emotions. And I just remember him being so stoic in that situation. I had never seen him get riled up, ever. And he was the epitome of a man. That's what a man is. And this guy was not a man. If that would have been me and that happened, yes, I would have been extremely mad. Could you justify me cussing him slap out? Yes, you absolutely could. Wes just did that. You could totally justify it. There's no reason or excuse for what that guy did. But me personally, as a man, as a guy that learned how to control his emotions at a young age, and what helped me with that was boxing. And because everybody's got their own issues. Everybody's emotional. I'm not saying not have any emotion, but I learned how to control my emotions. So what I would have done in that situation is I would have gotten off that swim platform and I would have told that guy, looked him in his eye and said, we're going back right now. I don't want to hear another word from you. You sit there, you be quiet. We're going back. We're done. It's over. That's pretty much what the conversation would have went like. And I would have gathered myself and we would have went back to the dock and it would have been the end of it. There would have been no, I do this every effing day. Like as a child, that's a child to me. I look at that man as a man. I call him a man child. That's the way I look at it. So I don't think the guy handled it well. And the kids, you do have to look out for the kids. I know a lot of people are like, F them kids. And, I was brought up around a lot of cussing, around a lot of people losing their temper and stuff. But thank God I had my dad to show me what a real man was. And you don't want, those kids are looking up to that captain. And you don't want to act like a man child in front of children, not because it's going to hurt the children, but because you don't want children seeing that in you. Okay, I'm done.
Pete, what do you think about it?
All right. So I don't know how to attack this question here real quick, but all right. So it might be a little longer than that. So when I first saw the video, I knew right away there was a second side to the story that we needed to know before we jumped to conclusions right away. Okay. I actually had
jump to conclusions right away.
That's what people do, right? That's what they want to do. So I actually had the same scenario happen to me twice in one day on my old boat in the wintertime. Not on a guide trip. It was before I became a guide, fun fishing, whatever. We'll circle back around to that scenario there. But so I see the comments here, turn the boat off, whatever. You're trolling for mahi. You don't turn the boat off at all, okay? When you're trolling, you're fighting fish, you don't turn the boat off at all. you can't do it. Now, a lot of these boats, I'm assuming, obviously he had doubles or triples or quad motors on there. Okay, so I know for a fact that he's got a troll mode on his console there. Did he turn it on? Probably not. He maybe shut off 2 motors, trolled 2 motors, and took the lazy way out overall. My boat, my offshore boat, I have a troll mode on there. I can set RPMs. If that throttle moves forward, it won't do nothing at all. Okay, so he probably did not set that. Is my guess. Okay. When I saw that video right away, I'm like, you know what? Every person reacts different. Okay. I almost got thrown on my boat twice on the same day on a cold winter day on Lake Wadley by an old fart that was fun fishing with me. Did I react that way? I did not. But after the second time, I'm like, dude, you sit in the front of the boat. Don't come back here towards the throttle at all. What happened there is probably easy for anyone to do overall, as far as, laying back there, possibly slipping, or just basically putting your weight back there, hitting the throttle forward. In my case, it was a single engine 90 horsepower motor, so it didn't throw me out. I caught myself easily. In that guy's case, if he was running 2 motors, that was a lot of dang thrust involved with that to throw him overboard, possibly. Would I have reacted like that? It's kind of hard to say. Again, every person reacts different. Some people are, calm and cool under pressure. Some folks want to cuss the world out if anything does not go their way. In this case, is exactly what happened. So, is the guy wrong in this whole entire situation? Yes, because kids involved. He's got to act professional, amongst those guys. But at the same time, I can kind of sort of see where he's coming from with that. It's just really hard to say not being there, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, we know it was a small boat.
Maybe the kids might, believe it or not, something good could come out of this. Maybe they learn a valuable lesson. Hey, here's what happens when you do what you're not supposed to do, when somebody tells you not to do something and you do it.
But what happened? They got cussed out?
Dieter, so you do run an operation. Do you have those few folks that act like they know everything no matter what?
I've been lucky. I've had that one time. I had one person that I had one that swore up and down we'd be catching more fish if we were using live bait.
So same
we
exact
put live bait on half the rods, and to my knowledge, those fish are swimming alive in Lake Wadley as we speak. So
I've been extremely lucky to where, I haven't had that issue, but there's always that one group or 2 groups that know more than the captain. Okay. And I kind of feel
and
like
not to mention
may have been the
those
case.
saltwater charters,
Let
those
them know
saltwater
more.
charters too get a lot of people that are just looking, that are not really into fishing, and they're just wanting to go on a field trip. And, I don't know how much this guy fish, I have no idea, but yeah, you get some of those people and they can be kind of dangerous to have on a boat because, had that guy went in the water, odds of that guy getting the boat back to him were probably, and that's probably what upset that captain more than anything. He probably knew that if he would have went in the water, that guy getting the boat back to him would have been virtually impossible. He would have not known what to do.
Yep. So after that event, I had a guide trip on High Rock Lake, with a one of my regular groups. And during my safety brief, I'm like, all right, we're going to do this and this. Make sure we don't turn this into a dang 2 conchs event. And they died laughing after that. But yeah.
I mean, it was just people are like, why didn't he have a guide? Well, it's a small boat. And that's why he didn't have
it wasn't that small.
Not a guide, a mate. It was too small to have a mate on and to have a decent client with 3, 4 people on there at least. And having a mate on that boat, it would have been a little cramped, it looked like to me. But I think that's probably why.
Again, if it hurts a guy's feelings so much, and there's probably a bunch of different answers to this question, but why didn't the charter say, hey, man, I'll tell you what, let's just stop here. Let's just take me back in. If it was that bad, why did he decide to stay out there 4 more hours and fish with the guy if he insulted him that bad and hurt his feelings and didn't want him cussing in front of his kids?
Yeah.
Supposedly the guy
He
got
didn't
like
know-
a $200 tip on the trip too.
Yeah, he
Exactly.
did. Well, he didn't know that he's going to cuss his kids out. But I think that you deal with people like that a lot. I'm sure all three of you guys have dealt with people that try to tell you something that you already know. And how many times did you just act like they were teaching you something? I get people to do that all the time when it comes to fishing, and I don't say no, that's not how you do that. And I just listen to them. I'm like, really? Yeah.
So-
Oh, yeah. Okay,
I,
I'll try
I
that.
gotta ask
I'll
this
try
real
that.
quick. Have
But-
any of you
but-
three been the Keys at all?
But when you've got somebody that's constant, because if you listen to
Upper
the
keys.
video, part of the cussing was, he said, you keep saying do it your way, do it your way, do it. He said, I'm not doing it your way. I'm doing it my way. I've been doing this 30 years. I know what I'm doing. So undoubtedly, that guy numerously or many
Was
times
getting on his
he started
nerves.
telling the captain, yeah, already, and there
Still,
again,
he handled it immaturely, in my opinion. I don't care what the guy did. I mean, the guy could have been telling me, doing the same thing to me, and I would have just been like, okay, well, yeah, we're not going to do it your way. We're going to do it my way. That's
but you're there again. And then why did he wait till he gets back to the dock? You get a man a $200 tip. He cleans your fish.
well,
for
because
you.
people needed to see that, because that guy he is not able to control his emotions. And I don't want to be out at sea with a
buddy,
man,
there
a grown
again,
man
if
that
you
can't
hurt me,
control their emotions.
There again, I
Because
can't.
that's
control my
a
emotions.
sign of incompetence. When the
If I
shit hits
tell-
the fan and
if
I
I
need
tell a
someone to save
grown-ass
my
man-
life, I don't want a guy that
But
can't
if I
control
tell-
his emotions.
Well, brother, I love you like a brother, but if I tell you 15 goddamn times not to do something, and you do something that hurts me, you're gonna have the biggest goddamn falling out from hell. I don't give a fuck if you got 6
That
kids
wasn't
in Jesus
15
Christ.
times, Wes. That was once. That wasn't
No,
15
no,
times.
no.
That
He
was
said,
I love
the
it.
captain said he told him several times to stay
Oh, but
out
on
of
one
there.
trip. On one trip,
Let's
though.
be clear here,
On one
real quick. All right, the Florida Keys, the fishing there is nothing but a damn tourist trap to begin
It
with.
is. That's a fact.
No doubt about it. So, whatever happened to said charter boat captain, he's going to find another boat to run regardless. No questions about it if he wants to stay in the area.
And let me get this straight. Not saying I wouldn't have done what that guy did. I'm saying I would have tried to show with restraint. I would have tried not to. I would have tried to take the more mature route. But I've lost my temper. Everybody
he didn't
loses
want to
their
kick his
temper.
ass. I thought he
He
showed great
had a
restraint.
moment, but the problem I have with this guy is he had a moment, and most people, when you lose your temper, most people will regret it. And he has shown no signs of regret. He got on Facebook the other day, days after this happened, and he's like, no regrets. And he's just got his heels dug in to defending his actions. And I don't like that. I don't want to be around somebody.
Well, why did the guy wait until he got back in shore and got away from the guy and then post a video hours later?
I just think the guy should show a little more humility, show some maturity, show some modesty, take the high road and apologize for his actions and move on. Even, whether
Hey,
you can
Pete,
justify them or not, I think the mature, wise decision to make would be to apologize.
Pete, you may know that saltwater world down there better than me, but why? I mean, that guy's middle-aged guy. He's been fishing for a long time. Why does he not have his own boat? Why is he working for a charter service?
Money. If you don't own your own boat, a lot of times a charter boat may get a company like Two Conchs, for example, may
Because they've got like
Give
12
you-
or 14 different boats they run.
Correct. Yeah. So I know a guy, I'm not going to throw any names out at all, but he would rather run on someone else's boat because it's not putting hours on his own motor. And he's still getting a flat rate of no matter what happens, he gets paid, let's just say $400 per day plus tips. So it's possible that he'd rather run on a company boat and get paid X rate plus tips and not worry about putting on hours on his Yamahas, on Mercuries, whatever he's got, maintenance, any of that stuff. But yeah, I mean that's a common thing down the beach is if you have a captain's license, and a lot of these boats allow you to, or a lot of these companies, allow you to run these boats under their company
Umbrella.
name, I guess.
The umbrella.
Daryl Barney said, how is getting mad about getting thrown out of a boat make him incompetent? Oh, it doesn't. It doesn't at all. And I never said that. He 100% is justified in getting mad. It's his ability to control his emotions once he's mad. That is what I have an issue with.
Yeah.
Shit,
Anyways, Dieter, it comes down to money. Money
Yeah.
and overhead on your own personal boat. So
Yeah, and I can understand, like Jason down at Myrtle's Inlet Fishing Center. He's got all those boats now, and he's got a bunch of young guys that run some of those boats for him. And I can see that as a young guy, you ain't got the money to buy a boat yet, but it seems like somebody at that point in their career would have a boat.
You don't know what the guy could have went through.
Yeah,
a
maybe he
divorce.
does have a boat, and he's just taking.
My goodness, are you
Coulda-
financially
coulda-
shaming someone?
coulda-
Like you're ageism
He
and
coulda-
financially shaming
well,
someone. Someone at that age should be. That's not true. You don't ever know what's happening in someone's life.
I'm
and what
not
they've
so
been
much
through.
that. I am kinda-
Golly, that
kinda
was a
curious,
bougie,
like,
condescending and bougie comment.
Dieter, I
But
feel
I-
you. Don't
I-
worry.
I-
Continue on.
I ask it because I'm curious why a guy at that point in his career, unless he's made some other mistakes along the way and this isn't the first time.
Of course he has. Everybody makes mistakes.
Dieter, I am a
But-
big time numbers guy, obviously, with my job. Okay. And not just Dieter, but JR and Wes and whoever else is watching. So let's throw an example out here. Okay. And crunch numbers here with me. I'm gonna use the Florida Keys for example. Okay. A full day charter might be, let's just say $1,500. Okay. You fish all day, gas, bait, whatever.
That's offshore.
Yeah, this is offshore. Okay, correct. Let's just say 40-mile run, give or take, gas, bait, all the whole jazz there. You are spending about $500 on all that. Okay,
Yep.
bait, gas,
That's
ice,
pretty dang close. Yep.
$1,000. Boat payment, marina, the whole jazz there. Y'all can throw out numbers on there. If a captain that is operating someone else's boat makes a flat rate of $400 and then tips on top of that, that's pretty much about breaking even in my books. So
Yeah.
if
So
his
that-
overhead
that
is
much-
about half, you're about there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But there's really no room to grow as a business. You're
Correct.
just kind of a flat line.
At the same time, now, if you're with a big company that stays booked nonstop, 7 days a week, 365, why do anything else? Why go on your own and, risk maintenance or any of that on your own personal boat? These boats run hard, man. I've added hours on my boat, and in just a year and a half, I've almost put 400 hours and not even fishing hard, really. So if you take your own boat and you fish every day in the Keys, you want to repower it after 2 years. And that's a lot of damn money. That's a lot of money. So these guys right here that want to operate someone else's boat and get paid, a flat rate per day.
That's why you go Suzuki and go 8,000 hours on a Suzuki. It's not that bad.
Hey, that's if you're lucky, right? That's if you're very lucky. But
it's not unheard of. I mean, I would even say
it is. You're right. In hindsight, a lot of guys want to repower the boats after, a lot of these charter guys, they want to repower the boats after 3,000 hours. Let's say 2,500, 3,000, give or take, just because. But if you want to repower your boat, it's gonna, you try to sell your old motors, you're not getting what probably you should for the motors because of all the hours.
And then the fact too, especially down there, if they've been in saltwater their whole life, like me, when I decide to repower my boat, I'm not going to get nothing near what my motors are worth because they've been in saltwater pretty much the whole boat's life.
Anytime. So if you're shopping for a motor and you see 2,000 hours, works like a charm, are you going to pay a lot of money for those motors? Probably not. No.
Well, they do have something going for them. They're much likely to hit higher hours if they're being ran every day. You take a boat that's only getting taken out once a month, its life is going to the hours on it's going to be drastically less before you have problems than something that's running every day.
So a serious question amongst you three here. If you were boat shopping right now and you saw a boat on the market that had, let's just say it was 4 years old and it had 50 hours on it versus a boat that was 4 years old and 300 hours on it. What
4 years old, I would take the 50 lower hours.
I go with 300. All things being equal, I think
If it were
300.
older, I think if it were older, let's say plus years
All right.
old, then
So,
I would.
so
do
let's
that.
let's go ahead and let's change it a little bit.
4
Let's
years.
say
4
the
years
boat
isn't that
is-
much time if the
let's-
boat's
Let's say
being
the
kept
boat is
indoors.
7 years old and the same hours, 300 versus 50 hours. What would you
Take
get?
the 300. Take the 300.
If
You
it's
damn
been
right.
if it's been in climate controlled
Absolutely.
garage, maybe I would
You
go with
damn
that.
right, 300. No matter what,
Yeah.
even if it's like 7 years
What,
old.
what
and
if
had
the guy
500
drained? What
hours,
if the guy
I prefer that
drained the
boat.
oil and put some Marvel Mystery Oil in it like you do for a motor that's going to be sitting up? What if he took
I
all
think
the
he's saying
precautions?
all things being equal on both motors, then
Yeah,
Three-
But all things aren't equal. If you got an 8-year-old motor that's had like oil in the jets of the injectors, and
We're talking about hours, JR.
Fuel
versus
in the jets
hours.
of the
300
talking about
versus 50.
hours.
well, there are
Hours.
certain steps
You
you,
don't
can take
you
that will
don't know
preserve an
anything
engine.
about the background of the boat, the motor, nothing. You just know that the boat has 50 hours or 500 hours. It's 8 years old. What do you prefer? What will
So
you get?
8 years old, that would be 16, 2015. Is that right? Yeah, 2015.
Yes.
So a 2015 model Suzuki versus a 2023 model Suzuki. The 23 model with
Bless you.
how many hours?
See, let's say one's got 50, one's got 500.
What year's the motor with the 500 hours?
Let's say 2016. Just keep it even.
Oh, well then I'm probably going to take the one with you said 300 hours,
Let's say 500.
500 hours. I'll probably take the 500 hour one
All right.
if it's a 2016. I don't know if you get much newer than that. I'm probably going to go with the less hour.
And see, this is where we differ because now you don't know. See, again, you don't know the background, the boat, and everything. What if that boat's been sitting there for years and years with non-ethanol?
You don't know the background on the one with 300 hours. You don't know how
But
that
why
person's
would you
taking care
buy
of
a
that boat.
50-hour motor? That's the thing.
500
you do it?
hours, whatever you said.
Why would you do it?
You don't know the background on either motor. You said all things
You're
equal.
right. I don't, but I'm gonna dang check it out. But I trust a boat that's been run hard.
I'm going to check it out. Well, you can check it out with a compression test.
You can check it out, yeah.
Test the compression of the cylinders. If they meet if they're within so many
Let's
PSI.
ask the viewers here. Let's
Yes,
ask our 3 viewers. What would you do? Would you buy a boat with 50 hours? That's, let's say, 8 years old.
Yeah, but it's
Or
an
would you
echo
buy-
chamber of guys that really aren't. They've never they've never split open a block on an outboard. I have.
Well,
If you test the compression on the engine and it's within variance, it has within
he's
4
overthinking it too much,
psi.
Brad. He's
on each
overthinking
cylinder.
it way too much.
And everything checks out. The motor runs. You water test it. Absolutely, I'm going to take the one with less hours because I'm mechanically inclined and I can test something and know if it's a good buy or not. Like my buddy that just bought a Nissan Altima. Now he needs a new engine because he's getting blow by because his rings are gone. And this Altima that he paid $5,200 cash money for, he saved he took this out of his piggy bank and went and paid cash money, $5,200 for a 2007 Nissan Altima. I was like, dude, wait until I get off work. Let me go with you. He went. He didn't know what to look for. Bought a car. Now he has to put a quart of oil a day in it. You have to know what you're looking at. You have to know what
He's
you're looking
drunk. He's drunk. So you're right. You do have to.
to Pete's point, a boat sitting around doing nothing can create some problems.
Well, now that you
Damn
say
right.
that, when I bought my
Damn
boat,
right.
one of the main reasons there, again, I didn't really think about this, but when I bought my boat, I got a good deal on the boat, but the motors had less than 100 hours on them, and the boat's a 2008. So the guy that I bought the boat from had the carburetors cleaned. He had new fuel lines put on it, had the fuel tank cleaned out, everything. Boat was running, quote, what we thought good, So I started having trouble with my port motor. Let's say, my port motor. It would not turn the RPMs that the starboard motor was turning. It was like 2,000 RPMs off. So he kept through the motor. We serviced it, took all the gas out of it, put new gas in it. I mean, I had a lot of issues with this. I spent about $2,000 fucking dollars on this issue. We thought it was water in the fuel, and it was none of that. Well, I got 2 new props. We tried 2 new props. When he put the props on that particular day, he said, Wes, I just decided, he said, I'm going to check your VAT tanks. The VAT tanks where the boat had sat so long, had so much gunk and build up in them. He put me 2 new VAT tanks on it. And then the new props that we put on the motor, that son of a bitch would come out of like a bath boat. I mean, I could literally jump on plane in like 3 fucking seconds. But then I could get up to about 25, 30 miles an hour, and that's all I'm going to do. So we put the props.
Find me a Honda mechanic down where you're at. I need to find a real Honda dealership with computers and everything.
Bobby Lovingood does. He works on Hondas too. But anyway, so we put the old props back on the boat. Now it jumps out of the hole, not quite as good, but it's propped out and it's running the way it's supposed to. And I can get about 41, 42 miles an hour in flat seas
Nice.
WOT. So the moral of that story is just like Pete said, like JR said, because it don't have that many hours. The main reason I bought that boat was I had the hours checked. Everything was fine on it. Compression was fine. I think it had like 83 hours on it. The starboard motor and the port motor had 83 something. I guess that's where they were running one motor, trolling with one, whatever. But we didn't realize how bad the VAT tanks was till after I run it a while, kept running gas through it. And then, it was an issue. So I wound up spending over $2,000, not counting the $1,000 worth of props I've got out there that I have to resell. So that's just a thing that you couldn't see because that's what I got for buying a boat.
Yeah.
Again,
With
it's
low
a great
hours,
boat.
right?
I love it.
Low hours.
Well, it was 15 years old though, which is much older than the example that you used, Peter. You said 4 years, so it was a whole
4 years,
lot older.
Then I jumped up to was it
And
8 years?
I think that the biggest problem with Wes's boat, how when people say, "Hey, it's not as bad to run ethanol fuel as long as you are constantly taking your boat out and running it all the time, at least once a week." Letting it set up is what causes the separation. That's where you get your problems. Well, a lot of people don't understand or realize that you have problems with ethanol free gas as well.
Yes.
And it sitting up is a problem as well. If you ever look at an old gas tank, you pull an old gas tank out of a boat that ran non-ethanol fuel, it will be extremely varnished. There will be a lot of buildup in it. If you take an old gas tank that ran nothing but ethanol fuel, it will be clean as a whistle. So there's benefits to both. And I think that one of the problems
he recommended do not. He said, "Wes, you use this boat a lot, don't you?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Don't never put ethanol free fuel in it." He said, "The reason being, especially
you mean
down here on the coast,
fuel?
Yeah." He said, "Don't run ethanol free. You don't want to run non-ethanol in it." Reason being, because
that's all you run in yours.
Well, I have to because I'm at a marina.
That's right. Yeah, I didn't know if you knew that. Okay.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is it draws moisture. He said non-ethanol gas draws moisture 3 times quicker than regular gas. He said all that is for, like I said, if you let a boat sit, if you're going to let them sit. But he said if you're running the boat, especially
Wes, you're on my side now. All right.
Yeah, he said do not run non-ethanol gas in it.
Me and you are the only. It's lonely in here, bud.
But I have to because that's where my marina is.
I'm glad that you're in here with me. It's been lonely.
Hey, I'm with you on that one.
Don't seem to matter at all because
that's what my mechanic told me.
And everything.
Yeah.
No, Benji.
Mechanics will tell you. Guys that rebuild outboards for a living, they know. They'll tell you.
So let's hold the topic here real quick. Dieter, you mentioned something about Honda motors. Is that what you have?
Yeah, that's what's on the Lund. I've got a Suzuki on the skid.
Okay. So I have a guy that does work on Hondas here near High Rock Lake. He hates them, but he's pretty good with them overall. So
why does he hate them?
Because parts are hard to get.
No, okay.
I remember when 4-strokes first come out, like in the early 2000s, back when Craigslist was still a big thing, before Facebook Marketplace. You could find Honda Powerheads, blown Honda Powerheads on Craigslist, a dime a dozen. They had some problems early, and I'm sure that they worked those problems out probably the next year. I don't know how many years Honda had issues, but all of your manufacturers have issues. That's what happened to OMC. That's why they sold out to Bombardier, and that's why Bombardier discontinued the E-Tech, was because they adopted all the problems from that Fit motor. They fixed the injector issues and the early problems of those early direct injected 2-strokes that had problems a lot like the early 4-strokes. And so you have a reputation, and it's even Honda. It's hard to overcome that initial, what they say about a bad first impression. It takes 11 good impressions to get over that first, to make up for that first bad impression. So I think that's what happened to Honda. That's what happened to Mercury. That's why Yamaha has such a good reputation, is because they've been good from the get-go, out the gate. And even though Mercury and etc. are just as good as Yamaha now in the 4-stroke market now in 2023, all the outboards, it's like Ford, Chevy, and Dodge. They're all good. They all got some minor issues, but some of them just never could get over that reputation. And that's why Yamaha is just screams dependability.
Yamaha.
I would rather
Suzuki-
own a paddle than own a own a Mercury.
I love Mercury. Some
So,
Mercury.
Dieter, I'm gonna tell you, I back you up on that for sure. I've heard of horror stories about everything. Mercury's, it's like you get a good one or you get a bad one. There's no in between at all, whatsoever.
It's
Um,
the dealers love them. It's why you can find a Mercury dealer every other stoplight.
Okay, well,
because
if you're
So-
going to
they
bash a
want
company,
Mercury,
then
so
we
they
need
get
some
to
here's the
facts.
work.
thing.
Hold on. If
So-
you're going to bash
no,
a company,
you hold on.
I
So
need some facts.
there's a reason why a lot of boats have Mercuries right now.
Which
And
Mercury? Which Mercury? The XR?
It doesn't matter. All Mercuries. Doesn't matter.
60
All
horsepower and
Mercuries.
below Mercuries?
Doesn't matter. All
which
Mercuries right
Mercuries are you
now
guys? No,
because
that's not
after
true.
COVID,
Not all bad.
the Suzukis and Yamahas, they were on back order so deep that no manufacturer could put them on whatsoever. So Mercury, being mostly American made, that was the only motor around. And so all these boats right now coming out of the factories got Mercuries on there. Now, when I bought my second boat, my bay boat, my requirements were either Yamaha or Suzuki, nothing else. And man, I shopped hard. I literally waited
Oh,
almost 8 months
Japanese.
before I found it.
Excellent. Yeah, you betrayed our country. Good job. You want to be congratulated.
well,
for
you
that.
know,
Good job.
Well, yeah, but I'm gonna make sure it works properly.
But
so,
they're really it's how it's so anecdotal, like nostalgic, anecdotal, and just absolutely how your heart feels. That's why some statistics you can manipulate to back up. It's almost like religion. When it comes to these outboards, they're all good. Mercury is a damn good brand. It's a damn good outboard, regardless of what you think. It is, and
it's
you can
decent.
make a
It's
case for
decent,
it.
but it's not
The
decent.
problem is you've always made a case against them. It's very easy to make a case against a brand. I love Yamaha. I could definitely make a case against. I could get online. I could gather some information, and I could easily make a case against them. It's how you. It's whatever you believe in your. It's almost like it's a fairy tale land. There's fairy tale land where you bash a company and say they're not good, but
Your
obviously
statistical
good.
analytical hypothesis.
What if I
of
told
the
you-
situation presented
What if I
before.
told you that I have a friend that is a Mercury dealer, vendor, all that?
Then
and
there's a
Stay
million
away from
people that
Mercury.
have friends that are Yamaha dealers and that are Suzuki dealers, and they'll give you
Yeah.
horror stories about this outboard and that outboard.
You didn't
I know-
let me
I know
finish.
mechanics
You
that,
let me
that
finish.
hate E-Techs and they'll bash them.
You didn't let me finish. So what if I told you I had a friend that's a Mercury guy, and he told me to stay away from Mercuries between this and this year?
Right. Well, then he probably has some anecdotal evidence to back that up, and that's worth entering into your your whatever sample size you want to make to try to defend a particular brand. And I understand that. But you
Yeah.
could do that with any brand, with any mechanic. There's a lot of there's mechanics out there that'll say the same thing about another outboard from
Yeah.
their experience. I'm not saying that
So-
your friend's lying. I'm just saying that's from his personal experience. And it's hard to just base something on one person's personal anecdotal evidence.
So
I just want to put my Honda on a computer just to see how it looks with hours and stuff. That's all I'm asking for.
Have you done a
That's
compression
all I
test on that
want.
motor, Dieter?
Yeah, compression's fine on
Everything's
it.
good?
Compression's fine. I just want to see what the
How many-
hours are on it more than anything.
Is that a V6?
Yeah,
What's the variance on the cylinders? What's the difference in the
I have no
PSI?
idea. I have no idea. I did not keep track of any of that stuff.
I mean, if
so
it's
go
with-
back real quick, I saw Daryl Barney ask a question to read, his comment. Daryl, I read it. I cannot agree more as far as get a motor or a boat that has been operated and maintained very well. And then again, Dieter, going back to your Honda thing there, good mechanics are hard to find, no doubt about it. But the guy that I work with at the High Rock Lake area there, the guy's fucking awesome.
Get you a mechanic, not a parts changer. There's a
Yeah.
difference.
So he hates Hondas, but I mean, the guy's awesome. He's extremely fair, family oriented, and everything. You have an issue with whatever motor.
Does he have this? Does he have the software to hook it up to a
I
computer?
think so. Yeah.
Where's he at, Peter? Is he in
Okay.
Lexington?
High Rock Lake. He is actually on not Lexington. I want to say. I think he's still in Rowan County,
What's
maybe.
does he have a
High Rock
company?
Lake Marine is what the name of the place is. But
High
all
Rock
it is a
Lake
phone
Marine.
call. He'll take care of you. Yeah.
What's his name? Do you remember?
his name. So his secretary's name is Fawn, not Dawn, but Fawn, like the deer fawn.
Yeah.
Okay, you can't forget that.
Oh, I'm saying I'm loving this already. So
Yeah, country
hit
as
me up
hell.
with that info tomorrow, Pete.
Country as hell, all of them. But I'm gonna tell you what, extremely trusted. So yeah.
Did they used to be AAA outboards?
If you go there, by the way, and say you are a guide and you need your boat to make a living or whatever, he will get on it fast. I'm telling you.
Cool.
He's
Well,
done
let's
some
talk
work
about,
for me.
what about these Honda motors.
Honda Motors.
What?
Dieter's got one. That's a VTEC, right?
I
Dieter?
got one. It's on the Lund that I bought from Mac, and yeah, it's
Be right
running
back.
fine. Yeah, it's running fine. I just want to kind of get a baseline. We changed the plugs and we changed lower unit change, all that kind of stuff. I just want to get a baseline on where it's at hours wise, so I kind of know something about life expectancy and all that. And also when you hook it up to the computer to see if there's anything weird showing up on it as far as any kind of weird footprint of anything happening on it. But
What year
other
is
than
it,
that, it's a
Dieter?
good motor. The 2000, oh, I have to look up the numbers. I got them buried somewhere because I looked it up on the serial number. 15.
Oh, okay. So it's that new.
I
It's.
wanna
I'm sure it's a great,
I wanna say
great
15.
outboard. Yeah,
Yeah.
I bet.
It's
I bet
the
it's probably
second
got
one.
Some, it's probably got some hours on it because Mac liked to fish a lot.
I don't
for
think
a
it
little while.
does. But it's like Pete and I were talking. I don't think it has a lot of hours because Mac generally
He didn't go very
didn't
far,
go
did he?
that far to fish. Yeah. Living on the lake, he didn't run all. He never. I don't ever remember Mac talking about going above 150. So, and a lot of days were spent idling out to the mouth of Little Creek and trolling back in. So I got a feeling it don't have. I'd be surprised if it has 500 hours on it. So, as crazy as that sounds. But
Well-
I think it was run consistently. As weird as I think it was ran often. It just wasn't ran a long time when it was run.
Right.
So-
Yeah, because he would just go like right out there to the main channel if he wanted to fish the main channel, or he might ride right up here
Yeah.
to this point if he wanted to fish the
Yeah.
point. Yeah. He wasn't going very far.
Yeah. The one interesting thing was he told me that one cylinder wasn't firing. And I was like, I'm cool with that. Had compression check. And the biggest issue on that was there was a plug. The way this engine's put together, take the cowling off, you can see 5 plugs on there. Boom. One plug is below the lower
Cowling.
housing on the motor.
Mhm.
Yep. And you have to take that off. It's about
You have to
6
take that
bucks
off. Yeah, that's so somebody
to get
didn't
to
change
that
it.
one.
They didn't feel like taking that cowling off to get to that last plug.
I think I may have the plug laying over there. I kept it. I pulled the plugs on the other 5. None of them were the factory spec plug or compatible with it. I pulled the one plug that's below that.
And it was the factory spec plug.
It's a factory spec plug, and it's got more brown shit coming off
So
of it.
was it a same
different
brand?
directions.
plug?
No. The I think they call for an NGK something.
Yeah,
another, one of
NGK. Yeah,
those.
probably. Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause when I went to get it, I had to go to Napa, and the guy actually said, "Oh, what kind of race car are you building?" I was like, "I ain't building a race, it's a boat motor." He goes, "Oh," he said, "people normally buy these things for race cars." So it was one of them. I don't know.
So
some
what
of that
brand
weird
plug
stuff.
was in it? Was it the one that was left in it? Was
God,
it NGK?
It was some Korean looking crap that was in it.
So somebody had
yeah.
obviously, so he had the plugs changed before, and somebody didn't go
Perth
back
Marine.
with NGK
Perth
like they were
Marine.
supposed to. And then
Perth
not
Marine. Yep.
only did they not go back with NGK like they were supposed to, they went with a cheap plug. Not only that, but
Yep.
they didn't change that number 6 cylinder plug because they didn't want to
Oh,
take
yeah.
that
Never
lower
touched it.
cowling off.
Hang on a second. Let me see if I got this thing laying over here.
That's pretty shitty. What's going on, Susquehanna? That's old Dieter Schmader.
Dieter, if you hear us in the background here, I sent you a text message with the name of that place, and actually, I remembered the guy's name is Dwayne that runs the show.
I got to find the other one. Yeah, these were the Denso plugs that they had in there. I can't find the one that was like, I mean, it had brown stuff all over it. It was really bad, but that was the one selling. And it was amazing. The boat, it was right. It wasn't firing. You'd get it up. It would throttle up. Didn't sound weird. Didn't run weird, but it would take forever to get up on plane. I mean, it was just
running on basically on 5 cylinders.
Yeah, and it was just and finally it would get up and it would get to about 30, 32. And man, we swapped plugs and it was like a bass boat. Boom. It's amazing what one cylinder can make that big of a difference. I don't understand the dynamics, but dude, and then it's like 38 miles an hour. And it was like crazy. So
now what's confusing me is the plug that wasn't changed because they didn't want to take that lower cowling off wasn't an NGK. So that tells me that
no, it was an NGK.
It was an NGK.
NGK. Yeah, that was the factory spec one.
I got you.
These are the ones that were in at this Denso IK20, which
yeah,
I had them do a cross check on it, and there was something different about it, a bunch of voodoo stuff that I'm not familiar with. But it wasn't
obviously
right,
they didn't last very long.
That and the fuel filter in it was, I don't know that the fuel filter had ever been changed. It was interesting to see just how nasty that thing looks. So,
I'm laughing about it because
I
I changed the fuel filter in my boat here recently, and it looks so bad that I actually took a hacksaw to it just to kind of play around with it. And oh my god, it's crazy what that shit captures.
Hey, let's
I actually ordered another fuel filter just to swap it out again because I figured there's so much crap probably floating through there that So
go ahead, Wes.
Got the tech.
I come across a post in North Carolina offshore fishing the other day. The guy was coming up at a red light and he took a picture of these 2 electric outboard motors. I don't know how they were rated, but one guy commented on there, and I forgot. Of course, that whole post became a shit show when people started talking about electric versus gas. I wish I could find that post. And this one guy was trying to say that how much further you could go with that electric motor on a certain charge versus how far you could go with 2 gasoline motors on a full tank. But they're doing all these ratios and
right.
my pay grade.
Mm-hmm.
But what this guy, I think he was trying to say was, they can go so many miles in a car, a certain mile, pulling so many amps, so many miles in a car, but you would never get that in a boat. But the guy said, well, why are you only getting 2 or 3 gallons on certain motors in a gas motor versus you could get, how are you saying you're going to get 60 or 70 miles pulling so many amps out of this battery versus so many miles of this gas motor? And then they started talking about what am I talking about, Gerard? The restriction on the props, like you got restriction on
the
props.
torque.
Yeah, torque versus torque when you're in a car and the wheels moving. So, but just one guy, then he told the guy that was talking about the gas engines. He said, "Look," he said, "You like your gas engines, and you just don't want to change. You're not looking forward to change." But he said, "I'll tell you," he said, "in 10 years, electric motors will be out there and they'll be doing more things with outboards than they are cars in less than 10 years." Have you already?
I mean, here's the thing. The most efficient freight mover around is electric, and that's called a freight train. Because the torque electric motors have is unbelievable. Yeah. The problem's going to be getting the capacity to where you've got enough storage to match what you can get with gas. But, dude, I wish we were there. There'd be, because like I said, the torque on them is amazing. But
then aren't you sitting like on a big lithium battery? Then aren't you pretty much sitting on a damn big ass bomb?
So with a gas tank full of gas, you are too, though.
Yeah.
I mean,
funny.
Going green is expensive.
Funny you mention that. I'll be right back.
Going green is costly.
But I'm just saying, when you're out there in that water, if that battery, but there again, we're talking about the big word if if you get a crack or something in a battery that size, you can't just push the son of a bitch off in the water. You have to. Oh, did you get your lithium battery? What'd you get?
I spent the day yesterday down outside of Atlanta at a lithium dealer, shot a podcast with the people, and we talked about that. I think that podcast will be up in a couple of weeks, but we got into that, and the engineer, I said, "Hey, listen, let's just talk about it. It's not a sales pitch for your batteries. I want to hear the deal on that." And these things are pretty cool in what they do to protect them from getting water into them. And that whole water thing, because that was one of my questions. I asked him about putting the fire out. I said, okay, something goes wrong. Your perfect little engineered battery gets on fire. What the hell do you do? He said this lithium iron phosphate is, you can put it out with CO2 or water. It's not like the former lithium that you put water on it and it explodes. So the other thing is the volatility of the chemistry in it is not the same as the other stuff that set that dive boat on fire out in California and killed like 25 people on it. So we're going to put it through a test and see how it works. See how it.
What brand you get?
It's called Epoch, EPOCH. I reached out to a bunch of different people, talked to some of them at ICAST. There may be a couple more I do some stuff with, but a lot of the stuff is coming out of, it's kind of like buying some of the Chinese fishing reels. A lot of this stuff comes out of China. There's a little bit of it made in America.
Mm-hmm. They're
A
just
lot of
slapping
it comes out of
they're
China.
slapping their brand on it, building a brand around it.
And a lot of it, well, from what they were saying, comes down to the bottleneck on what chemical? Not lithium, graphite. Apparently, there's a big demand for graphite in some of this stuff.
Graphite that's a chemical?
Well,
think
that's a
graphite is a
chemical. It's part
An
of the
element.
chemistry is what goes into
What
this.
they use to,
and
yeah.
apparently, China's got a stranglehold on some of that stuff. So that may
Yeah.
be changing with some developments going on here in the U.S. with some places they're going to try getting this stuff extracted it from. But
Well, we need a Republican
bottom line
office
is-
to do that.
probably so.
Maybe a
Dig up some
Democrat.
stuff.
I don't know.
Cut
Yeah.
down some owl trees or something. But it is neat that the whole Bluetooth thing's that's just geeky fun because you can look at it charging and look at it discharging.
Yeah,
and
Wes
all that
has
stuff.
that on his batteries.
Yeah.
He shows me out there. We'll be trolling for like 3 hours, and he'll pull it up on his phone and be like, "Look, JR, we're still 97%." And I'll be like, "Man, that is wild, dude."
Now, what kind of batteries do you have, Wes?
I'll run the Ionic.
Ionic. Okay,
Well,
yeah.
I think Pete's got Ionic too, don't you, Pete?
I have Ionic as well. Yeah.
Ionic's a popular one. They've done a good job of a lot of brand recognition in the bass fishing world, and that kind of, transcended over into the other fishing communities. There's a lot of these guys are they're trying to do stuff for golf carts and RVs and
Now,
that whole.
what boat did you get, Dieter, and how much does yours weigh, and what's your warranty?
I got it's a 24 volt. It's 100 amp hours is all apparently some reason, some magic voodoo stuff. You can't get above that in 24 volts. I don't understand the science behind that. They
your
have
milliamp hours.
Heat.
What's that?
That's your milliamp hours. You got 100 mAh.
Yeah, Ma.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They have the 11-year warranty, which is like the other guys. It gives you 5 years of replacement. And then after that, it's a prorated deal. So that's where the warranty's at.
got 11 years. Well, I think we've got 11 undisputed. If you have it 9 years from now, they replaced the whole battery.
It didn't used to be that way. Ionic, I looked into, it didn't used to be that way. They may have changed it, but I think theirs was a 4 or 5 year, and it started. One of those two is Ionic, or there's another popular one. One of them had a replacement fee that was like $100 and $200, and the other one had a prorated deal. So, the bottom line is not too many people have tested that because they haven't had them long enough just to see what's going to happen with them. So we'll see what the heck happens with it. Put it through the paces.
All your Ionic marine batteries are 11 years.
Read the warranty though. Do you pull the warranty yet? There's a link to it on their website.
Free shipping, free replacement on 11-year warranty for 11 years. Let's see. Hold on. Let me go to the website.
Pull up the paperwork though on it just to see if it really says that when you get into the warranty description, it goes into some detail on that. It's good that they provide the shipping on it because that is, some of them get into, I've read the Chinese ones that are on Amazon, and it turns into a whole paying for this and paying for that. Dude, there's so many of them on Amazon. It's unreal how many different
legit
batteries there are. And it kind of makes you, the reason I wanted to deal with these guys first was one, they've got an office and a warehouse actually outside of Atlanta. So it's actually human beings and not just
You probably got 2 OEMs in China making about every single battery brand out there.
Wouldn't surprise me. Yeah, wouldn't surprise
Who's the
me.
Karen? He must be talking about you, Dieter.
So,
What's that?
up the road here from my house here in Morrisville is where the Ionic is actually distributed.
And I reached out to Ionic on multiple levels, trying to do the same thing with them, and will not even get a response from them. So
You got Susquehanna Stan saying, I will stick with my lead acid with an 80-year-old proven track record. You sound like one of those guys that still use the dyno oil when they change the oil in their car.
But in all honesty, depending on how much you fish and how often you fish, it's probably a wise choice.
Hey, Gator, your warranty is 11 years. Coverage starts when the battery or charger is purchased. However, replacement or repaired battery does not start over. You're still under your original 11 years once purchased. Well, what they're saying is, if you get a battery, and say you bought a battery and it goes bad 3 years later, okay, they're going to replace that battery, but then you've only got 8 years left on it.
Right.
So that is a true 11-year warranty for that.
Okay.
That's a good warranty. Is that full replacement?
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
So, Dieter, how much do these batteries run at the ICAST there?
I've seen everywhere from $1,200 to $1,400 for a 24-volt single battery. It just depends on where you get them and who you're buying them from. That's kind of the price range, I think. Now, I've seen some other brand. That's for this specific brand. I've seen some other brands in the $1,000 range. So I got a feeling everybody's going to adjust back to that. It's just like with the 12 volts. The 12 volts were, when I first started looking at them, $1,200 a piece. That number has pulled back dramatically. And honestly, a year since I did the last podcast on it, they pulled back like $400. So I think that's because more and more people are getting their name out and getting traction, and you're seeing it in more places.
You can get a 3-year warranty, or is it a 5-year or 6-year on a lead acid?
The best I have seen is 2 years. Somebody told me there was a 3-year with somebody, and it was like a $220 wet battery. So I don't know where that's at and who that is.
Walmart EverStarts, I think they have at least 2 year. I know.
Yeah, I've got one of those.
18 month. It's 18 month now.
Oh, they changed it?
Yep.
The one I've got is 2 years.
Their batteries have improved. I bought a battery in 2000 and I have one of my batteries on my boat is from 2020, and it has less cranking amps than the new battery. The 2023 batteries they have now has more cranking amps than the 2020 models of the same exact battery. So they've improved the lead acid batteries. And I think that's what's good with technology is you have this technology of these lithium ion batteries now. Well, everybody is going to them. They're talking about how much better they are. But the thing is, the lead acid batteries have gotten better too. And so have the AGM's batteries. It's like all the batteries have improved in quality.
I'll just say this. If anyone on the show wants a good deal on a lithium battery, 12 volt or 36 volts, don't have access to a 24 volt, talk to me. I'm going to get you a pretty good deal.
Wes, just so you don't go ape shit when something happens to your battery. Period of coverage. First 30 days, refund full price. 30 days to 5 years, 60-month lithium will repair the battery for free of charge. If repair is not possible, replacement will be provided. 5 to 8 years, Lithium Hub. This is through Lithium Hub, who's selling the Ionic batteries. Will repair or replace battery of blah, 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 $150 per battery. That's on their thing. And then 8 to 11 years, replacement discount offer of 30% on similar product. valid for 30 days from notification.
Well, that's
So-
still the best warranty I've seen. They're still got the best warranty.
It's still
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, no. The bottom line is nobody is replacing your battery for 11 years. There's some little caveat in all of them, and there's no different with these ones that I'm dealing with. I found nobody that, and that's what you got to kind of have to juggle and figure out. The other thing is how many of these companies are going to be around. That's going to be the
In that for time.
and that's the thing we talked about in this podcast with this guy is there's a lot of these companies that are selling them on Amazon that if all of a sudden their batteries start blowing up, going bad, they got bad sales,
They're going
The
out
whole-
of business.
And I just looked it up, Dieter.
It's
It's 3 years on the EverStart.
okay. Yeah, is that the max? Because the one I got was a max, and I thought it was only 2 years. But yeah, I mean that's still
this is the EverStart Max, 3
Yeah.
years.
Maybe
So I
mine's
feel like
3
the
years.
Ionic is a better brand as far as lithium batteries overall, as far as warranties.
I think they're going to
and-
be around. I think they're going to be around. I think the other one is what's that other one? Pro Battery or Pro Guide. I think is another one that's pretty big. And there's one
Dakota.
other one that a lot of
Dakota.
fast guys are using. Dakota.
Dakota.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's another one that I think will be around. So,
Yeah.
I think if you go with those, I think you'll be okay. The other ones, I think it's going to be. But some of these other ones on Amazon, they're within $100 of, a wet battery. So maybe it'll work, maybe it won't. I mean,
So,
if you get
I'll
4
tell you
years out
this.
of it,
As far as Ionic, for example, at cost, it's $100 above a wet battery.
yeah,
Plain and simple. But of course, they're going to sell it for more. So
Yeah.
anyone that wants a lithium battery, wink, wink, talk to me. I can probably hook you up.
And that's in
Yeah.
that's in the cost too. That warranty with Ionic or whatever brand, whatever warranty you get, that's in that cost. If you could probably get the same battery for hundreds of dollars less, but it won't have that warranty.
I think I got a 36-volt battery, 50 mAh, the 36-volt charger installed. He put me a new breaker on my for the battery charger, and I'm trying to. It seemed like mine was like $1,500 for everything, the battery, the charger, and the installation.
How much was
Oh,
that
wait,
Enoch battery you bought, Dieter, or you got? Is it
It's,
comparable to Ionic?
1200, I think is what.
Is
they're
it less
selling
or
them
more
for now? I don't
than
know.
Ionic?
I don't know the Ionic price. I don't know the Ionic.
Does it have a
price.
good warranty too?
This one is the same thing. It's that
Same thing.
11-year, 4-year full replacement, and then after that it's prorated.
Probably pretty similar in price. Then.
Yeah. I think everybody's within $100, $200 on
Except
the
for those
name
cheap
br-
ones on Amazon.
except for the Amazon ones. You don't know what you're going to get. It may be like some of these, China bomb trailer tires that
I'm
you
going
run
to
the
go
tread
out on a
off of.
limb and say a lot of them's probably going to be the exact same battery. It's just under a different brand, and you don't have that
Could be.
warranty.
The biggest area that they were saying maybe the faulty part is the BMS, the battery management system software stuff that's in it. They probably see more. There's probably going to be more failures in that because I've heard
Who
those horror
cares?
stories in the reset. Well, here's the problem: it shuts your battery down, and you can have a
Mm.
battery it is fully charged, and when that BMS goes out, it doesn't allow the voltage to go to the terminal. So you've
Oh,
got
wow.
a battery there that's fully charged, but it won't send the voltage to the
Well, that's-
terminals
okay.
because of all. Yeah, and you're just like
Has that
Yeah.
BMS system been on there from the gate?
all
Is
of
that-
them
is
have
that-
it. All
okay.
of them that
Okay.
have the Bluetooth thing in it. That's what all that is. That's
Okay.
where it controls the voltage. They've all got multiple cells in them, and it charges them in a certain way so that it's balanced and all that other voodoo black magic stuff. And yeah, when that thing goes out, you're screwed because you got a battery that's got power. It just ain't no way to get it to you. So
And that is why you should not buy a straight 36-volt battery or a straight 24-volt battery because
See,
one
we
battery,
got- we got into those discussions about that. I talked about that. They support it.
Yeah.
Their argument from an engineering side is that it's almost what you're saying is that with multiple batteries that you run, one of them can have an issue in it, and you're only as good as the weakest link in it, which is really the same thing in 24, 36 volt single battery. If you've got a bad cell in there, then you're only as good as the weakest link in it.
Hey
But,
guys, here's
yeah.
what I just found my thing. I was wrong. I paid a lot more than that, but here's what he charged me. Y'all can read that. Blue Sea 60 amp breaker, 3 hours labor, battery charger, and the battery. That was the total of putting it in my bill.
How much was the charger?
I'm guessing that I don't know what that the 315 is labor.
Dude, I'm telling you right now, the charger is not cheap for these lithium batteries.
Well,
Yeah,
that was the
yeah.
thing with these batteries. This battery charger, I looked online to see what it was going for, and it was like dirt cheap because I had seen some that were $300 and $400, and they sell theirs. It may just be a shell game of what they're moving around where to sell something.
Well, Brian recommended to me, Dieter. He said, Wes, he said, I'm not trying to, he said, I am a dealer for them. I'm not trying to tell you what to do, but if you'll look at a lot of reviews, he said, the only reason I'm going to tell you to go with their charger is you got a lot of chargers out here that does the wet cell batteries, AGMs, and they say they charge lithium batteries. He said, when you got that type of charger that's trying to charge 3 different components or for 3 different types of batteries, he says, I've know it's caused a lot of issues in the past. He said, you need to get you, even if you don't get Ionic, he said, get you a lithium battery charger. I'll get whatever you want. So I told him to go with Ionic because that's the same name. He said,
well, listen, if you're buying the batteries
Yeah.
from a dealer, you need to go with their charger so
That's
that
what he
if there is an
recommended.
issue, they can't bitch and complain
Exactly.
that you used the wrong charger. So,
So
he
here's what a
also
lot of
said-
folks don't understand too is that if you go with a 36 volt battery, you need to get a special charger for that battery as well.
Yeah.
Used to be a
Now,
36 volt
24
charger.
volts are a little new, I feel like, and I don't know if you need a special charger for a 24 volt battery as
Yes.
well.
Yes. You got to have a 24 volt charger.
yeah, this is
Yeah.
a specific charger that it's just got.
Well, see,
No,
there you go. So
make it
that, so
wrong.
that is the issue for those that are watching here. That's the issue with the lithium game because you can get a 36 volt battery or a 24 volt battery and a pair of 12 volt batteries or 3 12 volt batteries for whatever system. And now you need various chargers for
various
those batteries.
multiple chargers. Yeah.
Yes.
That's a pain in the butt.
Right. And so that is why I went with what I have. I have 4 12 volts plus a house battery, a lead battery. And I can have one charger that takes care of all that at one time. And you do the math, it comes out cheaper to do that than to buy a 36 volt battery and one 12 volt battery and one house battery to, for the motor or whatever, and to have 2 different chargers for that. So again, those that are going lithium, add the numbers, see what kind of space you got, and then decide what you want.
Well,
Yeah.
I know I gave up, but those AGM batteries are heavy. I think they're heavier than any other brand of battery. I had 3 of them in there. How much does a 36 volt weigh, Pete? I think my battery weighs about 28 pounds, maybe
Sounds about right.
28 pounds versus 260 pounds.
A 24 volt battery weighs a whole lot less than 2 12 volt batteries. So
We're not, as
They're
far
still-
as like lithium,
still
we're not
heavy.
talking about like just a couple pounds.
Wait a minute, Wes. How much did you say a 36 volt lithium weighed?
About 27, 28 pounds.
God,
That
that's
does-
less than
that's
30
lighter
pounds.
than this 24 then. This
Yeah,
24
mine's
is
less than
probably
30
40
pounds.
pounds.
Yeah,
Yeah, this is probably 40 pounds.
Let's see, hold on, I'll tell you if I can-
probably not a lot of difference in a 24 and a 36 volt as far as weight.
It's not significant. We're talking about maybe 3-4 pounds at best. So yeah.
Did they give you a deal on that battery since you was doing the podcast?
That gave me a good deal.
You got that brand ambassador discount.
I'm not a brand ambassador. I'm an emissary.
You are 100% a brand ambassador. What are you talking
Peter,
I am
about?
an,
tell me,
I am an emissary.
Is an emissary, is that a fancy way of saying a brand ambassador?
That's like your multi-syllable word she used earlier to
If
describe
if
something.
you were able to get a 12 volt battery from whoever you did a podcast for, how much was it?
What's that?
So the 12 volt battery, not 12 volt lithium battery,
Mhm.
could you get it less than 220?
No, no. 220 would be a great. How many amp hours? I mean, none of them. I mean, even I think even the 50 amp hours wouldn't even
50,
be that cheap.
50.
And my 36-volt battery, they're already out of stock again. He said that was one of the fastest selling batteries he was selling right now for the offshore guys.
Yeah.
I had Victrola motors are already out of stock again.
If I was buying a 12 volt, I want to do something with somebody that makes a high amp hour one that's like a 2 or 300.
100.
2 or 300. Yeah, I think those are probably going to be in that about the same as a 24. They're going to be anywhere from $8 to probably $1,200 is what I'm thinking. Somebody does make a 300.
Talk to me. Talk to me. I can get it for you for
Okay.
half that for sure.
He's like that drug dealer on the corner on King of the Hill when he buys.
I
that
know
crack
people,
and goes
man. I
fishing.
know
Hey,
people.
hey, let's talk about one thing that nobody's mentioned yet. We wintertime fish a lot, and there's a certain tip of these batteries. I think when it gets around below freezing, they will not charge, or they'd have a hard time charging. So you have to put a heat blanket on them or
It's
put
in
them
my
inside where
podcast.
they'll charge.
It'll be in my
William
podcast.
Lampkin
This
has
battery,
the same brand as you, Eater. Bill.
who?
Epoch.
Bill Ward does?
William Lampkin. I just posted his comment up. He's got a 36-volt 100 amp with heater.
Yeah.
At Epoch.
Yeah, that's what I was getting ready to tell Wes. This battery
Epic.
comes with a heat. This battery comes with a heater. It is built in that kicks on. We talk about that in the podcast.
Mhm.
That kicks on below 28 degrees, maybe. I don't remember what exactly the number is, but it will heat it up first to make sure that the core is at the temperature so that it can be charged properly. Apparently, you can discharge them because we talked about that. I asked them about guide striper fishing cold weather. Apparently, there's no problem with discharge down to, I think, -4 degrees Fahrenheit. So,
I told you wrong. My battery weighs 45 pounds.
thank you. That's closer to what mine weighs. Then I feel better now.
I'm sorry.
I
was wrong. It's 45 pounds.
I was going to say that was a hell of a light 36 volt if you got it for that. So yeah.
Hey, Scott Perry ask, is there a place to put your wine next to your batteries?
Mine comes with a cup holder on top. You just have to make sure that it's not like in the bilge or in a battery storage area because then it's kind of in the way. But there's a little cup holder, a phone charger, and a place for a light. So.
Bill said the Iconic battery told him that the heater runs all the time.
I got to go back to Scott's comment real quick. So not only can you put wine next to it, but I can put like slices of cheese and fucking salami.
Maybe
and stuff next to
that's
it.
just with the Ionic, Dieter, not the Epoch.
Hey, baby.
I don't know that it runs all the time. I just know once it starts charging, it goes into charging mode. It will heat it up first.
I think what Bill's saying is on the Ionic, it runs all the time, whereas the Epoch doesn't. That might be what made him decide to go with the Epoch.
Yeah. Yeah. Now they're pretty cool. I mean, it's again, it's not for everybody. Not everybody needs them. It's not a deal breaker. It's, you got to have this thing. But I think if you're using them,
it's kind of like Live Scope. It's the technology. Do you want to keep up with it and spend a bunch of money? Do you have those resources to spend on as technology advances? And I'm not one of those guys. I don't have Live Scope. I probably won't for at least another decade. And I have an old 2-stroke outboard, and I don't have.
Dude, I've kicked around a lot because I still haven't bought a sonar unit for the Lund. I've got my notes here of the stuff y'all told me in the last podcast I was on talking about the different models, the transducers Pete said to get, and I hadn't pulled the trigger on what I'm going to do yet. But yeah, I'm kind of the same way. I'm kind of like, part of me is like, am I going to use it? Do I really need it? And I'm still torn on it.
Well, part of you has to look at it as from a business perspective, and I can understand it as a business, but from someone like me, someone that goes fishing for different reasons, and eventually with the technology, like you're going to be catching the fish for you. Like where are we going to draw the line?
You still got, we talked about this in a podcast earlier today. I was doing with somebody. You still got to know how to fish because there is nothing. I've heard this from multiple people that use the Live Scope. There is nothing more. It's one thing to look at 2D sonar, mark fish, and you can't catch them. But when you can see that damn thing swim up to your jig and look at it and then go away, that makes you want to like smash stuff and break it.
Guys,
and
so I'm telling you this. I am 4
you still got
trips.
to know how to change the game.
I'm 4 trips, maybe 5 trips into the whole Live Scope fishing, and these damn fish are pissing me off with exactly what you're saying. I mean, I found spots, every lake varies kind of sort of, and I can't kind of put a pattern together, conditions, overcast, clear skies, whatever. I hadn't figured out yet, again, 4 trips. I can't tell you how many times like I have like a dozen crappie chase my jig, but not bite it, or a minnow. It doesn't matter, minnow, jig. They'll like come up to it, attack it, and then just drop back down.
Yeah.
I'm like, what in the F?
I've had multiple guides and fishermen tell me it's like before you thought, oh, there ain't no fish there. There ain't no fish on that pier. There ain't no fish on that brush pile. They just ain't biting. But now it's like, holy crap, they're swimming 6 inches behind it and won't eat it. And it's like sometimes you can change something. Good fishermen may be able to figure out what to change sometimes.
But you can figure this stuff out without live scope. You can tell when the fish are being lethargic. You can tell when they're just barely sucking it in when it comes to crappie. You can tell when they're following it up. You can see it. If the water's clear, you're missing all that now because you got your eyes glued to a screen.
I'm gonna tell you what live scope does. I'm gonna tell you what live scope does, okay? It helps you eliminate water, hands down, no questions asked. I can again, 4 trips down, I'm still learning this thing, but I feel like I got it dialed into where, I'm kind of figuring out what I want. I can drop that unit down and tell you there's fish there, there's no fish there. No fish there, I pull it up, go elsewhere.
That's why I call it fishing. I mean, I swear.
I've heard
I'm on the side of it's ruining fishing.
I agree.
It's ruining it.
I've heard tournament crappie guys say that we will ride down now and look at a dock and go, that's half pounders, 3/4 pounders. It's like, oh man, there's like a whole school of that. They ain't big enough 3/4 pounds. Like,
exactly.
there's 4 2-pounders sitting on.
Why
this
not
dock.
just take a trawler? Just go throw some nets out, drag some doors.
The only reason why I got
havoc on the whole ecosystem and just net thousands of fish. I mean, if that's what it's about.
That sounds easy. That sounds easy, but you pull up to the brush pile and you see 150 fish on there, and only one wants to bite. You're gonna change your mind on the whole trawl.
Wes, I am far right. I am the opposite of progressive when it comes to fishing. I'm a conspiracy theorist. I mean, you might as well call me Alex Jones when it comes to fishing.
Yeah.
I'm painting my boat blue because of fishing.
Damn. God almighty.
Best fucking cookie in the world.
Famous Amos, that's right.
Wait a minute, did you just eat a like one of those like chocolate spiral things?
No, hey, that my friend, listen, this is a work of art. This is a Little Debbie strawberry Swiss roll. If you haven't tried them,
Swiss roll. That's I haven't seen the strawberry. I thought
sounds
that was
delicious.
Very good. And no, it's not a ding dong. It's a Swiss roll.
It's not a fudge round. As long as you're not eating fudge rounds and 300 pounds, you're okay. 500, whatever it is.
Hey Scott, when are you gonna put the live scope on the old blue bean there? Huh? You got it all. You might as well just tack it on there, huh?
He barely uses the graph he's got on it.
Is there any use for live scope offshore?
Yeah,
I don't think so.
Well,
I don't know. I think there could be.
If you're within, doesn't it pick up like it's got to be like within what 100 feet, 120 feet or something?
So the way I have got mine set now is if I'm searching for fish or brush, I like to set it about 100 to 120 feet in front. You can go further, but that way you can sort of find the structure, the fish, the piles of fish, I guess. When finding suspended fish, again, suspended fish is something I have not really fooled with yet because these crappie right now are hard on brush. So a lot of times you can see 100 fish 100 feet in front of you, but you don't see the brush pile yet until you get closer. So suspended fish might be a little different, but I have mine set to 100 feet around the boat, I guess, and you mark the pile of fish. As you get closer, you kind of dial it in a little closer, and then you mark the fish along with the brush. And then as you get closer to that, then you get to pinpoint every single little fish is there.
I got a question for you guys. When me and Wes were out there with Lacey and Alan this past weekend, we were in a couple 100 foot of water, and we noticed we were getting a return of a what anyone would assume was the thermocline. There was some noise on the screen down. How deep was that noise, Wes?
I don't know. I thought it was interference. It could have been trying to mark a thermocline. I didn't know there was one out there.
I think it was noise because it was uniform. You know what I mean?
Yep. Yep. There's a name for that in saltwater, and it has to do with saltwater density, something another.
Well, see,
Pete probably
we were
knows
in-
it, and I forget what it's called.
We were
You're
in
in
the Gulf
saltwater.
Stream.
You're talking about saltwater, right?
Yeah.
Yes, we were in the
Yeah,
Gulf
yeah.
Stream.
Yeah.
Gulf Stream. There's current. I mean, it's rolling. I mean, you can't tell it unless you get down into the water on Spotlight, but it's rolling. Or you can
Yeah.
tell it with your, if you know, because we were using 12 ounces of weight, Wes.
Yeah.
And it was sweeping. It was sweeping 12 ounce like
Yeah.
it was
I wasn't nothing.
So yeah, we were getting a return on the sonar that what looked like a thermocline. We were getting some noise down there at a certain depth, close to the bottom. I don't know, 3/4 of the way down. I don't remember the exact depth, but I just thought that was weird because I didn't think that there would be any stratification out there.
Yeah, it's not temperature based. It has something to do with the density of, I want to say it's salt or something else that is in the water.
Is
and
it where the
creates that
salinity, where the salinity levels change? Maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
I'm trying to think. Maybe I was just sitting here looking online to see if your boy Mike Smedley did something about that. But I've seen some people do that because I was looking at the whole thing with this plankton bloom that you get in the summertime. I'm sure JR's seen it this time of the
Where
year
mess your
on like
screen
Lake
up
Wiley.
And
where
it'll
you
look
see
like a
that
whole
shit
screen of
right-
distortion.
And
Yeah.
you see it on Lake
Yeah.
Norman too, down at the lower dam
Yeah.
in the summer.
Yeah.
Well,
So
I got a
is
question.
that really plankton bloom? Is that really what that is? I've always heard it.
That's what I've heard it was.
And it comes up at night, and then
Yeah.
as soon as the sun starts coming, it
It'll
goes
go
back down. Yeah.
I was sitting under a bridge one night on Hartwell, and I had a HDS2, and we'd been sitting there for about an hour, me and Anthony Finley. And I looked and I said, "Man," I said, "something's wrong with my damn depth finder." He said, "What?" I said, "Come back here and look at it." And it just looked green. It just like distortion, just like a total. So I cut it off, cut it back on. I reset the damn thing like 3 times and nothing. So I called Patrick Miller, and Patrick said, "Wes, that's just plankton probably." He said, "Don't worry about it." He said, "You're under a bridge, ain't you?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "You don't need the damn thing anyway." So
And you have to crank the intensity up to like 100% to be able to pick out any fish that are in
I
it.
think the reason it's
Usually-
happening at night is it's temperature sensitive, and it may be an algae bloom but you have to understand it's not your typical algae bloom. This is plankton. This is phytoplankton and zooplankton. So I think what's happening is this slight temperature variance as we
JR, it's zooplankton, not zooplankton. Let's be correct in our pronunciations.
Now, I always said zooplankton too, but I was corrected by a biologist recently. It's actually
Oh.
zooplankton.
Well,
So
we're in the
anyways-
south, it's zooplankton.
Oh, okay. Are you finished?
Microorganisms. Okay, let's
Yeah.
call it that. Is that good
Yeah.
enough?
I think it's that mild temperature variation as we transition from day to night that is doing just enough to trigger something in this plankton that's causing this return on the graph. I don't know the science behind it, but I know that it's more than just an algae bloom. It's not your
I know this,
typical-
it only happens in the summertime when the water's hot.
because plankton is algae. That's what algae bloom is
Right.
It's plankton. So
Yeah.
but you have
Well,
to
I
be
got a
careful
question
how you
while we're
word
talking
it.
about this, Junior. And Pete, you may know. I'm sure Dieter, maybe you can help me out on this because I've asked. I actually asked this in the offshore page. Everybody says that down imaging works as good in saltwater as it does in freshwater, but I say it don't because I've tried I've got a $800 transducer on my boat. I got the GT51 that's designed for saltwater. When I go to down imaging on my boat, I get nothing but interference, whether I'm in 20 foot of water or 150 foot of water.
Dude,
I'll
now I will say this: mine, when it comes to the reefs I've been on, I mean, I've been able to tell a damn armored personnel carrier from a landing craft. Mine picks up pretty damn good. I've pinpointed a lot.
And
of
mine,
stuff.
I cannot get mine to.
Okay.
I can't get mine just looks more. That's why I always run 2D sonar.
Yeah.
I wonder what's going on with that.
I don't know.
Have you asked
Weird.
JC?
Might differ if you go to deeper water. I think once you drop off to 100 foot of water, that might change.
And it may be. I'm only doing this in like 30 to 50 feet
Yeah.
where I'm picking this stuff up.
Yeah.
But I can really, I've got shit mapped out the individual different pieces out there in some of these reefs. That's
So maybe X that off, Wes, next time you go out and stop in 50 feet of water and
Yeah.
see if you get a better return.
yeah.
That's why I don't know if you've noticed in freshwater, when I'm fishing, I don't even run 2D sonar. I use down imaging. But in
Yeah.
saltwater, I can't use the down imaging because it's just mine just looks real great.
That's
And
interesting.
actually, I'll tell you what it does, Dieter. It looks like it throws up a bunch of lines. on anything.
Interesting.
I know what it is. It's Lowrance outperforming Garmin.
No, not
Nah,
at all.
no.
No, no.
What do you got, Dieter? What you got on there, Dieter?
I do have Lowrance on there.
Okay.
Wrong. It's an issue. It may be my transducer, or it could be something in my head. I
Yeah,
don't
that's
know.
it. That's interesting. That's interesting.
Mhm.
Because I thought that was the greatest thing in the world when I got it, and I
Yeah.
went out to one of the reefs. I was
Yeah.
like, "Holy crap! I can see every little," and I could look out, 80 feet, and go, "Oh shit!" I could just click, 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 and I had a whole map
like,
of that.
you
entire
remember the
reef.
old days you had 2D sonar and you could come across a bush and it would show up like just look like a bunch of fish and you'd be dropping on it, getting hung and shit. Now I can look at 2D sonar and I can tell you the difference between a rock, a bush, and a fish.
We talked about that in a podcast I taped with somebody earlier. That was one of the things about it. It's like, I don't go crazy with down scan, structure scan, but by God, if you want to tell what maybe some bait from, oh God, that's a tree or a pile of Christmas trees or something like
Troll
that. You can
rig
really
through there,
pick
you'll
it
find out real quick.
out.
I've
So I
noticed
don't know,
after
and I-
using 3D sonar to distinguish between what you might have thought was bait. Now you can obviously tell that it's a tree with 3D. Now it's kind of getting easier when you do have it on 2D. You can tell now because of you've looked at the 3D so many times. You can tell by looking at the 2D that it's brush instead of bait.
Now, have you ever heard of a transducer getting buildup on it from the water? I forgot what
I haven't heard of that. No.
If somebody said you can clean your transducer, they make a chemical you can clean it with to help it give a better signal.
I can see that happening for
Stay in
boats.
the water
Fair
full
back.
time.
Boats that stay in the water full time, I'm sure would get buildup on their transducer.
Yeah, especially in salt water, like stuff connects to boats, like the algae and
Barnacles and
stuff,
stuff.
barnacles. Yeah. But I don't know. It's just I thought it was weird that transducer cost that kind of money, but it don't seem like
I'm
it.
sure Garmin's pick up great. There's got to be something's going on. You're getting some interference somehow
Yeah.
on that. Somebody's got to have the answer to that.
Yeah, that sounds like a odd signal, something, another thingy.
Yeah. You may have to maybe insulate a power wire or separate something in your wiring. Something's going on that's giving you that interference. It's weird that it only happens in deep water though.
Well, I've tried it in 20 or 30 foot of water. And then when I go to deep water, it's like all I get is just a bunch of interference. It's not marking.
Let me ask you this: do you change the frequency in the deep
Yes,
water?
I've got four different frequencies, and I've tried all four of them, and nothing
It's
even
probably whatever it is. Something has changed that's causing it. And I bet it's doing it in freshwater now too.
I don't know.
Ask JC this question. I think he might have the answer for you.
Well, there's a guy, I can't think of his name now. He's like a Garmin guru. I can't even think of his name now. He's on Facebook, and he started selling Garmin. I need to ask him. It just dawned on me when y'all started talking about
Josh, I think his name.
Yeah.
We've already talked about the weather, Perry. You must have missed that part.
Yeah, put your.
Hey guys, I'm gonna have to jump off. My AirPods are dying. I'm down to one of them, and it's beeping. So
Okay.
I will catch you next week. Thanks for the invite and enjoyed it.
Later, be good, buddy.
Welcome. See
All
you
right,
later.
dude.
Have a good one, buddy.
Take care, man.
Well, guys, I guess I'm gonna get off here too. Go spend some time with my wife. She hadn't seen me in 3 days. She ought to be happy.
Gotcha. All right. Well, sounds like it's been a good show, right?
All right. I wrote it out tonight.
I know, right?
I made Dieter and West tap.
Yeah, I know, right? Crazy.
Hey, let me do this. Well, guys, it's been a good show.
There you go.
I like it. Keep going.
I like it.
Go ahead. Do the outro.
All right, Pete. As always, nice having you on the show. JR, you did good tonight. You really did. You didn't get upset.
He stayed sober, man. Amazing.
Hey, JR, I love JR when he's drunk or sober.
I know, right? I sobered up during the show. That's kind of crazy.
So what? Right quick, Pete. What did you do tonight? You hung out with some friends?
Yeah, I went out. Went to the bar not bar, restaurant, I guess, with a few friends. Bullshit around, Hadn't talked to them for a couple weeks, I guess. We drank a few, ate some, and came back.
This is not how an outro goes.
All right, well, guys. Okay, here's the outro. Guys, it's been a great show. Appreciate everybody that showed up. If you would hit the like button. I forgot why you're supposed to hit the like button, but I know JR always says hit the like button.
The algorithm, right?
Yeah, algorithms. Yeah, we
There
need
you
some
go, yeah.
algorithm up in here. JR, been a great show, buddy.
Been a great show. We'll see you guys next week on the Real
All right.
Fisherman Show. Good night.
See ya.